We're live. Hi-ho. Here we go. Hey. I like their songs. Original man. Oh my god. God damn, bro. Putting these in. There we go. Now we're ready. Hey. You know I got it with me. You guys ready to start class? How's everybody doing? My Unc Chief Top Cats want to debate on who's the real Indians. Y'all should run that. I think it would be a great chance for you to prove your point and to him to prove his. No hate, just debate. If you down, I can set it up. I'm live every day, dude, on multiple different apps. You guys can come to me and debate me on my live streams. That way, if you get out of pocket, I can silence you, I can drop you, can do, that way I run the show. So if you want to, you're trying to debate me on my history. My history really isn't up for debate, I know that you guys want to prove yourselves to us, like, by any means possible, but yeah, probably not. You guys aren't gonna want to play on by my rules. You're gonna have to show DNA. I would like to see a DNA test. That's the only, yeah, swear to God. We'll compare DNA. They don't want to compare DNA. They don't want to compare genealogy. Let you look at my tree. I'll look at your tree, right? Compare ancestors, right? Both my parents are part of tribes. All four of my grandparents are part of tribes. My daughter's part of the tribe. I'm part of the tribe. Like, you're trying to say that your ancestors were the Indians? Well, so were all of mine. And we are still the Indians. You know what? You got to go generations back to find the Indian in your family. We are the Indian in our family. My daughter's the Indian in my family. The grandkids are the Indians in our family. Like, we pass it down. You guys lost it. You guys passed down African genes. Swear to God, you don't pass down Indian genes. You pass down African genes. So, you want to debate Indians while you look like a whole African fresh out the Niger Congo on who's the Indians? Yeah, it's not gonna work. You guys gonna look silly. Y'all gonna look silly. We can start, the debate. I'll start the debate off. We'll give thanks. So that Dios, they were not known yon, they were known yon. Nisong no dase, Nandi was Sarwak, Nan yung great dog, scan not with nothing yon, Jog with that known yon. Neho nisong yet say, Wines are dog, Nunk said no dini, no nisogonunch whole week, Duado Tino and young grand see the gaseko, Yonza daje. Ka nigga dan yon, nigga ganso, nigga dan jogwe, Kanya dan dan yon, Neho, Ubi go, Heon go jantwe. Scan not with nothing yon, gotta hunt the John. And that'll go on for like 10 minutes before we even start the debate. Y'all ain't gonna want to debate by the time we get done giving thanks. I'm telling you. I can find your tribe, Ancestso.com. I found many. Ancestso. You can find my tribe? You talking to me? Here, let's switch over. We're gonna put this on. We're gonna go like this. Go to SoundCloud. I'm glad you came on early. I'll be on all day today. I'll be on all day today. This is what we're gonna go on TikTok as well. How's the music? Everybody let me know how the music is, and can you hear me while I'm talking and all that? I can turn it down a little bit. Let me know how the music is going. Black and white are status, not racist. Indian is a status too. My uncle said he's gonna take me to Canada to get my status card up there. He can get me in. I got uncles and family In Canada, Cornwall, St. Regis, Akwesasne, Mohawk, my Mohawk side. Audio levels are good. Hey. I'm in New York, so I would like to go to Canada and get a status card. They put your blood quantum on there too, right? Yeah, dude. Senecas, we don't do blood quantum. Tribes out west and in Canada and in the United States are now doing what my tribe has always done. So out west, they got the blood quantum. Blood quantum is a form of native erasure, right? Blood quantum is a form of native erasure, right? And our people, if you're Seneca, you are 100% Seneca. There is no quarter Seneca, 1/16 Seneca, fucking half Seneca. There is no blood quantum. Everybody is full-blooded. If you're part of the tribe, you are considered full-blooded. Tribe full of full-bloods. That's why tribes out west are now doing what my tribe has always done. We don't have the blood quantum system because that's a colonial concept meant to slowly erase us over time. The way the math goes is with the blood quantum system. In the end, it'll erase us. There will be no more natives because you won't meet the blood quantum requirement because you'd have to keep mixing into the same tribe, to the same family. Eventually, you're going to be related to everybody in the tribe, and then, yeah, the math won't math. It will erase us. So people are now realizing that and say, oh, shit. They tricked us, yo. They started doing that with the black people. Octoroon. You guys know what an octoroon is? Put in the chat what an octoroon is. An octoroon. Yo, your chief. I can't believe you call another man that is a pretendian a chief. Oh, yo, that's funny, yo. You call another pretendian a chief, yo. That is so funny. So funny. So fucking funny. I fully support what you're doing. Appreciate that, bro. Thank you. All I want to do. All I want to do is light that fire underneath my relatives, these young warriors, men and women, right? All the uncles, all the aunties, all the nephews, all the nieces, right? Even grandmas and grandpas. If I can relight that fire inside my relatives to make them reconnect, make them go back to the old ways, become more traditional, start learning their language, their songs, make people be proud to be Ungwe indigenous, because we've always been indigenous. We were indigenous before it was cool to be indigenous. Right now, everybody wants to be indigenous because America has forced a black fetish on Americans. They forced a black fetish and kind of put them in the spotlight, and they're bringing a lot of natives are disconnected from their culture. Latinos, Hispanics, Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, those are native people. The reason why I get called Mexican or any of those titles, I'm not any of those titles. I don't even have any of that DNA from those regions. Never even spoke Spanish. Don't even have any Spaniard DNA, right? The reason why they call me that, or people think I look like that, is because they're so used to seeing full-blooded Mayans and Aztecs, descendants of those people that are full-blooded. They don't have no European admixture, speaking Spanish. So in their mind, they've been indoctrinated and brainwashed. That's a Latino. That's a Hispanic, right? So it's kind of funny. A lot of people didn't want their culture. They didn't really want anything to do with it because either they were raised outside of it or they were raised in it and they walked away from it, right? And the Goji, don't start that, right? People didn't want their culture until somebody else tried to take it from them. Facts. People didn't want their culture. People didn't want their culture until people tried to take it from them. Straight up, and you're gonna see that. You're gonna see that happening. It's gonna happen now, and it's good. I'm glad, and it shouldn't be that. Like this happens with tribal politics, right? It's kind of a good thing because now you got all the people, all the Native Americans, right, that wanted to be fucking black or act black or ghetto or whatever when they're not even raised anywhere near that. The res has its own environment. It's worse than the ghetto. It's worse than any fucking hood. People are going missing and getting murdered and fucking all types of shit, yo. Not all reses are the same. Not all reservations are the same. Me, I'm from the wild Indian territory. It's a territory. So low locked says, "What are you, lockjaw?" Locked says, "You stop. You know dang well you are not indigenous. You are African." Oh wait, he's not talking to me. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, who the fuck you talking to like that, bro? But anyway, check this out. I don't know who said that this was Afrocentric. No, this is Maya. This is what they say, yo. This is what they say right here. Look, he almost look Egyptian too, or biblical. It does look biblical. This guy right here, Serbians. Y'all believe the white boy story? Dude, just because we don't believe your story doesn't mean we believe the white people's story. You guys live in a black and white world. We believe our own people's story. Why do I have to explain this every single day? Just because I disagree with you and you're black doesn't mean I agree with white people. Holy fuck. I swear to God, they all think just because we're going against them, they automatically assume we side with whiteness. No, that's not what's going on here. That story don't even make sense. The broke Europeans went to Africa and kidnapped 30 million Africans. First of all, it wasn't 30 fucking million. And it was your own people. You guys were already in captivity when the white people showed up. They bought y'all for pennies on the dollar from your own people. Straight up. Free cruise. Ralphie May. Free cruise. Carnival cruise. Carnival cruise. Yo, it's funny how y'all think that boats can't cross the fucking Atlantic Ocean, right? But y'all and your ancestors were shitting and pissing all over each other on the boat. Now, you guys are still on the fucking boats in the Atlantic Ocean, throwing shit at each other and still pissing on each other. Diddy oil on a boat. Actually, the first slaves went from America to Spain, and that's why some of them have Native American DNA. From America, the Tainos, the Arawak people, they enslaved some Native Americans. And then when they went, when Christopher Columbus first showed up, he talked about in his journal, we can go over that, and how he saw these people, right? And he enslaved them, and they're indios, pure people of God. They'd make good slaves. You know, they grabbed a sword ignorantly and cut themselves because they didn't know. You know, and these were people on the island. On the mainland, natives had fucking swords, yo. Copper swords, especially in the Great Lakes. You had knights in shining armor. No, not shining armor, but they had armor. They're fucking wooden armor. You had literal fucking native knights. Oh, we're gonna watch an awesome fucking video. So, yo, all this black Indian shit, not real. You know what the real shit is? The white Indians. That's a real thing. White Indians, yeah. You had some black Indians after the 1600s. Yeah, after they would, we took those people in and we kept them from the white people. I got video evidence of these people saying that their own people, right? Oh, let's see. Mentions right here. Look at this. Look at this. Watch this.
I'm doing this for my ancestors. They escaped slavery, and they joined up with the Native Americans. The Native Americans, they taught us how to sew, they taught us how to grow food, and they kept us away from the white man, you hear me? Okay. So, therefore, it's me paying homage to them.
Me paying homage to them. You're a plain Indian? What? I'm not no fucking plain Indian. The fuck? You don't know me?
Okay, that boy. I'm doing this.
I don't even look like a fucking Plains Indian, bro. I look like a fucking Seneca, dude. I look like a Olmec. I look like a Olmec, bro. That's my face on that structure, bro. No, that's me. This is my people right here. Hold on. This is my people. So the guy right here in the red with the white Gastor, that's Cree. He was in that movie Crooked Arrows. That's Gitnu. Go to Longhouse with him. That's Regis Cook. He's a good singer. That's Derek back there. Derek Bennett. My cousin Halsey in the yellow right here with the red Gastor and white. My cousin Johnson Jimerson, right, with the white Gastor and the blue, right? And then Lance Isaacs, he's passed away with the war bonnet on. And then my uncle, my great uncle Marty in the blue on the other end on the side of me. And that's me when I was 12 years old. I was a fucking big husky 12-year-old, huh? So you're Filipino? Who the fuck said I was fucking Filipino, dude? Dude, there's more than one type of Indian. You got Plains, you got Iroquoian, you got Amazonid, you got Pueblo, Inuit, Eskimo. You got a whole bunch of kinds, dude. We're not all the same, bro. I'm definitely not a Plains Indian. I'm a northeastern woodland Indian. Merciless Indian savage. So our people's been reclassified so many fucking times, yo. They say that we haven't been reclassified, or look at this. Listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this femboy. So he actually dates a pretendian, yo.
We go back in history, only one group of people, the Aboriginals of this land.
He's going to say that only one group of people have been reclassified, right? There's only one type of Indian, LOL, and it's us. No, you guys are Nigerian Negroids, dude. I'm not going to deal with your stupidity today, dude. There you go. Banned forever. Anyway, so you guys were never Indian. You guys were never Indian, ever. 1492. Did the Indian bloodlines mix into this? Yes, it did. But that's not what you guys are. You might as well add white in there too. Swear to God, you guys might as well add white in there too. In the year 1600, when they start mixing in with y'all, when y'all made contact, And what, you think in 1492 natives were just opening up their legs and letting y'all impregnate them? No, probably y'all didn't start mixing till like the fucking 1500s. The fuck? Y'all didn't even come here till the 1619 on record. But anyway, Native Americans have been reclassified. We have been reclassified. They want to go by, this is a reach. I can make a list like that too. So when they first met us, they called us Indios, right? 1492, right? Let's go way back to Leif Erikson. Holy fuck, what did they call us then? Naturals. They called us naturals, the naturals. That's what they call us. So it went from naturals to Indios, right? To the Aboriginals. Then from Aboriginals, it went to the Indians. And then went from Indians to the merciless savage. The merciless Indian savages, right? And then from merciless Indian savages, it went to American Indian. And then from American Indian, it went to Native American. And then from Native American, it went to First Nations. And then from First Nations, it is now indigenous. That's how many times we've been... Oh, and I forgot, in the 1850 census, we were called copper. I could make a list like that too with all the dates. I think I'm gonna. We'll do it right now. God damn. Go get my lighter. You're good. Go ahead. We're gonna make a new R list. We're gonna have all the dates on it too. But I wanted to read this to you guys. So, oh, look at this. I'm gonna start calling white people colored. Because they definitely got some more colors than fucking black people. Not all white people look the same, but all black people look the same. Straight up. Oh, and here they are, blackwashing history again. I'll make the list. So here they are, blackwashing history. The original is on the right. And what it looks like is they discolored it or fucked with the saturation. They definitely fucked with the saturation because the red blanket turned blue almost, or black, and the gray sky turned blue. Yeah, and they definitely tampered with the photo because there's mountains behind him too in that one. So they tampered with it to make him look a certain way when really he looked like that. That's the original, and that's the altered picture. So this is called black washing. It's not only happening to Native American history, it's happening to all history around the world. It's because they're trying to make something out of themselves in a dishonest way. They're trying to set themselves up here. And let's talk about world fairs. Your people didn't build any of them. My people did. My people were actually world celebrities at these world fairs. Even here in Buffalo Creek, Indian Territory. Why you never talk about White Wolf or White Coyote or William Holland? I talk about all kinds of stuff, bro. Why? That's very why, bro. How come you never talk about Handsome Lake and Gaiweo? How come you never talk about the Chief Joseph tab? How come you never talk about the Kensington Runestone? Right? It's like real like specific things like that are like super irrelevant is like what? But life's if 2026, if you believe life started in Africa, you're a bot. You're a sheep. You are sheeple. You are sheeple. All of y'all are sheeple. So life began in the Americas. The original man is the red man. Noah was a red man. What else? He built his ark from gopher wood. That wood only grows in Florida. It floods once a year down there. The Garden of Eden was in the Amazon to the northeastern part of the United States. So basically all of basically North America is the Garden of Eden. Some people like to specifically narrow it down to the Amazon rainforest, say that it's hand planted. It was hand planted. Everybody knows that. Or some people say that New York or the elites believe that the Garden of Eden is in Ohio and Missouri, the Ohio River Valley in Missouri, right? I know that the Garden of Eden is actually in New York. Also, they said Atlantis is in the Bahamas or the Bermuda Triangle. America's name is derived from the Hebrew sojourner Hamore. I've never seen that one. That's AI made that one. Sometimes AI isn't all that. I'm gonna have to remake this one. But check this out. So this is what the Mayans believe in the third world. So the first world, they made people from clay, right? And water fucking washed them away. They like melted or whatever, right? Disintegrated. Second world, people were made from plants, right? Well, the first world, they got turned into the birds, right? Then the second world, the ones that they made from plants got turned into fish, or maybe it's vice versa, right? But by the third world, they made them from wood, and these people became very disrespectful, and they stopped worshiping God. They started worshiping themselves, became self-centered. So God flooded the earth to get rid of these people because they were mutated anyway. The survivors of this flood got turned into apes because the first world the survivors got turned into birds, and the survivors in the second world got turned into fish. Well, this is where fish descends from man. Fucking is basically what they're saying. Bird descends from man. Everything descends from man. Monkeys descend from man. It's the other way around. Right? We are the main source. You would love to evolve to melanin. Melanin is the most evolved state of human dummy. Stop repeating what daddy. We know sleep no more. Okay, y'all in your watermelanin logic, that's gotta end, yo. You guys are confusing pigment with melanin. You guys are definitely watermelanated. But let's check this out. The Popol Vuh is a sacred text or sacred book of the Maya, contains within its creation story a tale of the destruction of the first beings by a flood. This isn't the first beings. These are supposed to be the third beings. See what I mean? AI can be a little wrong sometimes. This is the third world, actually. And this is where sometimes some people believe black people came from. That they were monkeys, evolved. They were man. They got punished and turned into that way, and they're slowly recovering back. But this flood differs from others in that is not meant as a punishment, but rather a remedy for an earlier faulty creation of mankind. Basically saying that they were fucking rejects. They didn't like them. They had to get rid of them. So they flooded the earth to get rid of them because they were fucking bad and disrespectful ass people. The central Mexican legend tells of men in some parts of the world who had survived the deluge, the flood. The Great Deluge is the Great Flood. So turning into monkeys, then slowly recovered speech and reason. Now, this is the type of history they don't want you guys to know. They will never teach you any of this stuff in school. You will never learn any native history in school. You will never learn any of the native legends and myths and any of that. The natural Choctaw. I guarantee you the Choctaw don't even know you or any of your family. And they let y'all back into the tribe, so why aren't you in the tribe? Yo, that Chief Warhorse, is that your chief? I exposed her. She got meth mouth. Yo, your chief is a meth head, yo. Your chief Warhorse is a meth head. Yo, and then what's crazy is we got pretendians joking about Longhouse like they know. They said, now wait just a Longhouse minute. How the fuck do you guys know what a Longhouse minute is? It's because the Tuscaroras down in North Carolina are teaching them our ways, yo. They're learning it from up here, and then they're going down there. So what's happening is people, you got the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. People in the Haudenosaunee Confederacy are teaching our ways. Nothing is sacred anymore. And the pretendians are learning from our mixed relatives. Our mixed relatives are pulled between two worlds, yo. They're being pulled between two worlds. I have mixed relatives that are mad at me. My mom told me that my aunt told my mom that my cousin is mad at me or angry with me because of what I talk about. Because she's half black. She's enrolled and she's half Seneca. She's half black. She's not half Seneca. We're all full-blooded Seneca. Everybody is, but she's a black Seneca. Can't believe a junkie talking about someone. Yeah, dude, you guys just get on here and say anything. I mean, you're mad at me? If I was that, would I have all of this, bro? If I was that, would I have all this? Would I have this set up, bro? Would I have any of this? Right? No, I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, they don't call natives crack babies. They call y'all crack babies. And then right here it says that y'all come from monkeys. That y'all slowly recovered speech and reason. And this is one of your guys' ancestors too right here. Down in South Africa. See the tools in his hand? Look, he's got a beard too. Because some of y'all do grow real big beards. Hold on, did you say she a black Seneca? You just debunked her yourself. Yeah, she's my family. I debunked myself. Bro, we're saying you guys, y'all. We're saying y'all are not the people, bro. We know who our relatives are. She's considered Afro-indigenous. No, debunked myself. We're saying you guys are not the Indians. Y'all. We know that there's black Indians. We know. And they're our family. They're just not y'all. That's what we're saying. Again, the white man stories, black Americans have no relation to animals. Look at your hair. Our hair is like all life, all creation. Your hair is the mutation. It is like woolly mammoth. A woolly mammoth was a beast. It is like the four-legged. An animal is a beast. Llama, sheep, alpaca, right? Buffalo, you guys have wool like the four-legged. You have fur. That's what wool is. It's a type of fur. woolly hair, right? So I don't know what you're talking about. And then that's the kind of hair we got on our asshole and on our armpits too. So you got no room to talk, dude. You met the right one. Merciless Indian savage. I don't give a fuck. And just because I'm mean to you doesn't mean and just because I'm going against someone that's black doesn't mean I side with white people either. You guys need to pull that out of your head too. Just because Native Americans are going against someone that's black doesn't mean they side with fucking whiteness or white people. Y'all side with whiteness and white people. Y'all was the Buffalo Soldiers. Really. Y'all were doing what the white man was telling you to do. Y'all were the ones that merged to be one with the white man. If y'all was here with Native Americans, our people, you would have merged to be one with us. Straight up, you would have merged to be one with us. You a white boy, you can't scare nobody? Bro, I'm not trying to scare nobody. That's the thing. The fact that you're saying that is funny that I must be threatening them. And then why, if I don't scare nobody, why are y'all making AI of me getting beat up, me in coffins, fucking twerking on y'all, all types of weird ass shit, all sus and homosexual shit. So if you guys aren't scared of me, why are you guys doing all that? Why are you guys threatening to kill me every fucking day? Why are you guys always saying that you guys are going to be the ones that kill me? You wish you were Caucasian like us, dude? You wish you were Caucasian like us? Who are you talking to me? I don't wish I was fucking Caucasian. Yo, you guys live in a black and white world. You guys live in a black and white world. Just because I'm going against someone that's black doesn't mean I side with someone that's white. And just because I'm going against someone that's white doesn't mean I side with people that are black. God damn, yo. Why do people call you white when you literally took a DNA test showing indigenous? Because they think that hurts me. And especially when a black person calls me white, that doesn't hurt me. Because you know why? White people dominated them. White people conquered them. White people owned them. You're going to call me the people that you're scared of and owned y'all and conquered y'all? I'm that to you? Okay. That's not really a diss, but all right. They think it's a diss because they want you to be like, no, I want to be black. It's because they live in a black and white world. Just because you're going against someone that's black doesn't mean they side with someone that's white. That's the problem with today. That is the problem with today. Just because I'm going against you and you're black doesn't mean I side with white people. Pull that out of your fucking head. Yeah, we're not going to their lives asking them to believe us. I don't even go to any of their lives, yo. I don't watch their live streams. Okay. Yeah. should be on ban today, I think. Yo, what's your name? Oh, yep, we're unbanned. So we're not gonna be saying anything to get ourselves banned or in trouble, guys. That's not how we roll. We're gonna be teaching today and going over stuff. Alright? It's a reason y'all on a page like this know knowledge. This is my page, bro. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, bro? This is my page, bro. This is my... Yeah. You said there's a reason why y'all are on a page like this? What? More cough? More coffee? More nigga G? Oh, I got the video. Shayna sent it to me. Yeah. Go on to go, G. Oh yeah, so I'm gonna be in like this documentary with my people, right? And I got it. Come on. Yo, what's your name? Yo, yo, Okay. Alright, Thomas. Let's talk about something positive. Yeah, we're being positive today. We already did our daily quote, all that. We've been live on Facebook and YouTube for 46 minutes. Google Drive. Come on. Okay, cool. The melanated healers. Dude, anything with the word melanated in it, I don't like it. Because you're trying to identify as fucking superior fucking thing. And that's not what it is. Everybody has melanin. There's different types of melanin. You guys confuse pigment with melanin. Actually, you have harsh melanin, too much melanin, so much so that your skin blocks and rejects the sun. That's why they're deficient in vitamin D. You gotta take all types of vitamins. Where the blunt at? Gone. Try the link again. Running long. Oh, I got it. Damn, yeah, this is the documentary. Hot the guy. Damn. Look at this shit. This is that documentary. You gonna watch it?
Nation tribal member. Some of my
Oh.
My name is Ronnie Thomas. My Indian name is Joyai, and I'm a Seneca Nation tribal member. Some of my passions is tattooing. I have a history of being a good tattoo artist and just learning the truth. I think the first substance I used was marijuana. And I was about 12 years old. It didn't really get bad, and I didn't really do any hardcore street drugs until I was really about like 16. My mom would find stuff underneath my bed, or in my closet, hidden. And
yeah, yo, so that's awesome.
And
I don't really like the way I look.
I'd see my uncle in the driveway. I knew that wasn't a good thing, so stuff like that. You know, I was at the bingo hall. My mom was working there, and I ran in there to get borrow some money from her, and I went to go hold the door open for an old lady, and she went out of her way to walk to the other and to open the door for herself because she didn't want to walk past me. And that was probably like when it was pretty bad too. We're all the same and we all bleed red. Somebody will only quit when they really want to, when they're ready. And that's what it took for me to get clean and sober, was to finally go through it all.
Who interviewed you?
Go through the fire.
This is from your friends at the Seneca Nation.
Recovery
I don't
isn't
know.
easy.
It was like these Hanyols, really.
I've tried to get clean several times throughout my life. And sometimes it'll work. I'll stay clean for a month here.
Damn, I look kind of
The furthest I
chubby.
got was like about a year.
Go on
I'm at
YouTube,
5
babe.
years. The worst point for me was probably in and out of jail every other
Yeah.
weekend. And
If you wanna watch it.
Thrown in the psych ward. Sometimes I get too out of it, be gone for a couple days, and people wouldn't know what to do with me. Just running around homeless, nowhere to go, losing mad weight, looking unhealthy, not being recognizable, people not knowing who I was, even though they grew up with me. Like, that was hell for me. That was the fire. And
I like the earrings. What's the name of the vid?
is
It's not out yet.
the rock
It's
bottom
gonna
that
be me and a
all
couple
people
other
that suffer from
Senecas
drug addiction
that
reach.
suffer from
It's when
addiction,
Nobody
yo.
wants to help
Addiction
you
problems,
anymore,
yo.
and there's nothing you can do. but
I'm
you
a
just
warrior,
gotta
yo. I beat
come
that shit,
into
yo. I was
recovery.
fucked up, yo. I was a
It didn't
fucked up
happen
person,
overnight,
yo. And I really
it
came
took
out of that
several
shit, yo.
tries. Like
Came
the
out on
first
top.
time, stayed completely abstinent. That didn't work because I ended up relapsing like 8 months in on everything in one night. So this time in recovery is just I'm getting older and I want to live and I don't want to die no more. Because like most of my friends are dead right now. I love where I'm at right now, so I don't know if I would do anything differently because I don't know if I'd be where I'm at right now. Because I'm someone that believes everything that we do affects everything, you know, drastically. Yeah, I think there's a such thing as generational trauma. My grandpa used to drink. He went to the residential school. His father went to Carlisle too, but Thomas Indian School was here, and where we're at right now. And yeah, you hear the stories and all that, and it's not an excuse to go out and use and pollute your body, but it's the feelings that we're chasing, really. I'll tell them what I did, you know. I tell them to join the clinic because that saved me and it works. And sometimes you see people in the clinic, you know, they go back, but at least it's something stable that can, you know, help you. And I've been going there for about 6 years now, so it's helped me. These drugs are people called the mind changers, and they change your mind. It changes who you are, because that's not who you are when you're high. You know, even when you're sick, you're out of balance and you're making decisions for yourself, like life-changing decisions, getting tattoos and you know, doing whatever, right, to do all that. And yeah, that's not, the drugs is speaking for you. It's not.
Pretty good. Pretty good, yo. Hell yeah, yo. So that was the movie. That was the thing that I've been telling you guys about for months, yo. Not the movie thing. That never happened for being an extra in a movie. That was like an interview, a testimony with like these people, these Hanyoos that came. I don't know what the name of if it's the name of the documentary. I don't really know what it is. It's a testimony, and it's me and a couple other people, yo. It's like a documentary, I guess. And it's a couple people from the res. Me, my daughter's aunt, actually, my baby mama's sister, me, her, and like some more people. Hold on. Oh shit. Might have to reset anyway. Yeah. Gonna have to reset. Damn, I was just gonna let that person up. Whoever sent a request, send her another one when I come back. Weed is not a drug. Weed's not a drug. I never figured it was. I will on TikTok. We'll get some people in here. Hey, how's everybody doing today? Still walking around with this club. My Ugga Dugga. Ugga Dugga. Oh, shit.
Y'all scanning square? So today, out of 365 days of walking the red road, Oat no ah, Dickney Skite Wadon Top. And today's quote is by Nikki Napi. Never has the earth been so lovely, nor the sun so bright as today. It's probably gonna be a good day today.
Today's quote. Thank you. Okay, yeah, so we're gonna make that. We're gonna make one of these, but for natives. Making pot roast? Yeah. Hey, that sounds good. Yeah. Go to ChatGPT. There we go. Let's see. Hold on.
So when we go back in history, only one group.
Let's see. Screenshot this. Save. I'm gonna show you what to do. Go like this. Like that. Ronnie Long. for let's look up what Leif Erikson called the natives. Right? In the year 100, right? Or 1,000? Or around scrawling and Old Norse. The term is generally translated to wretches or puny ones or screechers, like the Old Orange dried skin, which means animal pelts worn by natives, contrasting the wool clothing of the Norse. There we go. Native American, indigenous peoples, American Indian, Indian First Nations, Alaska Native, Eskimo, Indian Princess, Squaw. Squaw is one, yep. Métis, yep. First American. Thank you. Who's sending a request and then dropping right away? So let's see. And Dios. Let's look up what. Did Prince Mad Duck call the natives? Marduk. Vikings. Marduk? Is it Marduk? Skraelings. Indios. Oh, let's see. Columbus. Us. Os. 1492. Indios. Right? Let's see what the Pilgrims called us. Indios. What did the Spanish and the French call us? The natives. Yes. Yes, we are. Independent. Called mercy. What do they call those people that back in the 1800s would write stuff about Native Americans? What's a good word for that? Explorers? No. Yeah, explorers. What year was the Battle of Little Bighorn? What year was the Battle of Little Bighorn, guys? I'm typing a book now. Making a picture. Called squaws. What year did they call us squaws? Right? This is what I mean. We've been reclassified so many times, guys. Way more than them. The 1800s. Yeah, and then what else? Squaw. Aboriginals. Yeah, came. American Indian 1924. Oh, no, we were natives. Yeah. They called us first Americans. Yeah. First or original Americans. The Native Americans. First Americans. Then original Americans. Then Native Americans. Till the early 1900s, white people wanted to start calling themselves that. So the Know Nothing Party, what year was that? (1854 to 1856), founded in 1849. So about the 1850s. 1850, yeah. We became American Indians because they wanted the Native American title. Indians. So we got in the year 1000 AD. We were called Scrallings, then Indios, then Naturals, then Natives, then Merciless Indian Savages, then Copper on 1850 census, then Aboriginals, then Prairie N-word and Squaw, then First Americans, then Original Americans, then Native Americans, and then we're called American Indian, right? And then like 1960s and 1970s, people got offended by the word Indian and they wanted to be First Nations. Let's see what year that came up. 1970s and 80s. Yep. I'm sorry. See? 70. First Nations. And now, in 2026, we are indigenous. Fill in the years I missed. And then we're going to have to add more. Hold on, let's see. Make my list longer and better than the photos list. Here's a more cleaner and more chronological version. Expand with approximate dates filled. Indios. There we go. God damn, look at this. So these are all of our titles that we have been reclassified as American Indians, Native Americans. Look at that. These are all the titles that we have been called, yo. Our list is way longer, and we have been reclassified. We have been reclassified this many fucking times, people. Way longer than them, and you don't see us crying. You don't see us fucking pissing and moaning every fucking day. We've been reclassified. We've been reclassified. We've been reclassified. Come on, yo. Wah. We've been reclassified. Hey. Put that in my book real quick. Yo watching, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey. Yo watching, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey. Yo watching, hey. Hey, just got a page for our book too. That's gonna go in the book. There we go. We're getting it made. This is how you do real research, too. Warrior for the people. I will always fight for my people. Happy Sunday. Yep. Oh, yeah. Thanks. Yeah. You talking to a Moor right now? Ahmed? Oh, he's planning a trip here in a few weeks. Oh, this is the fucking... I got a interview with Times magazine, y'all. And he's gonna come here in a couple weeks. I think he would like to meet up with you. I'll ask him. Okay, cool. Yeah, I got an interview coming up with a guy from Times, New York Times, from the New York Times. Not Time Magazine, New York Times. Not Time Magazine, New York Times. Time Magazine, damn, yeah, we really made it then. New York Times, yes. He wants that. They want to interview Senecas. Mm. Damn, that's dope, yo. Come on, hurry the fuck up. Let's go. You can get my chat banned. Okay, let's go. Sorry. I will. Yeah, we're going there. Fuck is my mail? How's everybody doing though? You guys doing well? Oh shit. You guys are gonna love these. Love this. Come on, gun. Anyway, let's look at this. Check that out, guys. Let me try to make it smaller. Trying to send it to myself so I can have it. Where's the Goji? She's quiet today. Good. We don't want her to be. Okay, hold on. Yep, that's how many times we've been fucking reclassified. God damn. There you go. Sorry, guys. Trying to get this picture, but anyway, check that out. Pretty dope, huh? Damn, we've been reclassified way more than y'all. That's pretty good, huh? Do I believe in God? Of course, bro. I believe in Creator. Who doesn't? Hello, Brave. We forgot that one. What the fuck? Yo, we forgot that one. Redskin too. We forgot Redskin. We forgot Brave. Damn, what else, yo? Help me. Goddamn. Brave and Redskin. Can't post it now. God damn it. You gotta work on it. Damn. Done? No, not done. Amerindians. Yep. Amerindian. Yep. Do that one. There we go. Damn, yeah, yo. I think we're all done now. we added Braves, Redskin, and a Merindian to it. Fuck yeah, yo. Yes, we've been reclassified. We was reclassified. We was reclassified. Yo, that's what she sound like in that video. We was reclassified. My grandmother's mother, my grandmother's mother, we was reclassified. Oh. There we go. Did they add Brave? You left a Merindian highlighted gold. Come on. Can you just show the video? It's not a video, bro. It's this. Hold on, I'll show you. It's being made right now. It's a picture, bro. Yawiskano sa Guego. Iganya gahen, no wawaga sanding, gaye hodi nutskan. Joya Ungista. That's Onondaga. Yawe Hoscanon. Iganya gahen, no wawaga sanding, gaye hodi nutskan. Joya Ungista. So in Onondaga, if you want to introduce yourself in Onondaga, you say your name and then Ungista. In Seneca, you'd say your name and then Neat Gap So. In Oneida, you'd say your name and you'd say Neogets. My great-great-grandfather was a translator and he spoke all 6 dialects. He wasn't like a translator, he was Ungwehue, but he could translate. That's what he would do. When they would have ceremonies in different territories, he'd go there and be able to translate Seneca to Oneida, or Mohawk to Cayuga, or Onondaga to Seneca. Fix what? You didn't fix anything. Whatever, yo. Okay, now we can fucking post this shit. Let's do this. Let's edit this. Crop this. You guys were never fucking called Indians. Take that out of there. And that should be good. There you go. There you go. Y'all was never called Indians. There you go. Yo. There we go. Check that out. Go post it. Go repost it. It's on Facebook. Damn, yo, that's crazy. Damn, that's crazy, yo. So we went from Scralings. There. Look at this. Indigenous classifications. So we went from Scraling, used by the Norse explorers in the year 1000. In 1492, we were called Indios by Columbus. In the 1500s, the Spanish and Europeans called us Indians. That derives from Indios. In the 1500s to the 1600s, they called us savages. In the 1600s, they called us naturals, the English settlers. In the 1600s to the 1700s, we were called natives by the colonials. In the 1700s, we were called aboriginals and aborigines by early European explorers. In 1776, we were called merciless Indian savages in the Declaration of Independence. In the 1800s to the 1830s, we were called Indians in U.S. government standard usage. In the 1850 to the 1860, we were called Indian or copper-colored in the United States Census for their language that they used on it, the census back then. And in 1800s, we were called the Red Man or Red Indians, popularized in literature and society. In the 1800s, we were also called squaw and prairie N-words with the hard ER. Also, timber N-word, red N-word, savage N-word, Indian N-word, woodland N-word, timber N-word, right? Frontier language, derogatory frontier language. In the 1870 to the 1900s, we were called American Indian. The formal United States classification begins in the 1900 to 1930. We were called Indian, Amerindian, right? And 1930s to 1950s, we were called natives. Legal government continues, Amerindian. 1930s to 1950s, native, formal, shortening. I don't know why they got that twice on there, but either way, 1930s, 1970s, Braves, Redskins, mascot names used in sports teams. 1960s to 1980s, Native American, during the civil rights because people thought Indian was offensive, right? First Nations in the 1970s and 80s, it became popularized in Canada. 1980s, we were called indigenous people. Academic and political usage begins growing. 1990s, Native American, widely adopted in the United States. In the early 2000s, first Americans, original Americans. And 2000 went from Native American to American Indian, both used officially, right? And then in 2010, indigenous, a wider use in global preference. And in 2020s, indigenous and indigenous peoples. Originals. Do I gotta go back and add that now? Come on, y'all. We've been reclassified. We have been reclassified. Damn, that's a lot of reclassifications, huh? Let's see. Damn. Yeah, go ahead. It's on Facebook. It's on Woke Seneca.
You didn't drop this, did
I'm gonna watch some stuff.
This is Eli. He paid a lot for his new computer, so he assumed it came with antivirus. But one click and oh,
That guy's name is not Elon.
It's another gray day here in Southern California. As I have on my warm gray coat, I spotted a few gray geese by the lake. Of course, I'm fond of all the birds here, as they remind me of ancient civilizations, which also revered birds in antiquity. In ancient Greece, the birds were linked to the Phoenician civilization. They did not call themselves that, as Phoenician comes from the Greek word phoinos, which means blood red, which shares the same root with the word phoenix, the mythological bird associated with the sun, resurrection, and rebirth. Also called the firebird in many cultures, legend has it that the creature bursts into flames when it dies, and a new bird then rises from the ashes. Ancient Egyptians linked the bird, which they called Bennu, to immortality, but few realized that both ancient Egypt and Greece were greatly influenced by the Phoenicians, which is the topic of today's episode. The legend of the phoenix is highly symbolic and has its roots in mysticism, which has taken on various definitions in modern times, but in antiquity referred to the belief that spiritual or divine knowledge was accessible directly, usually through some sort of altered state of consciousness, where the intellect was bypassed and the ego, or identification with self, was surrendered or subdued, and one could become one with God or the Absolute during what many describe as a state of ecstasy. The term mystic is derived from the Greek noun mystes, which originally designated an initiation of a secret cult or mystery religion. In classical Greece and during the Hellenistic age, the rites of the mystery religions were largely or wholly secret. The term mystes is itself derived from a verb main, meaning to close, especially the eyes or mouth, and signifies a person who kept a secret. Early Christianity appropriated the technical vocabulary of the Hellenistic mysteries, but later disavowed secrecy, resulting in a transformation of the meaning of mystes. In subsequent Christian usage, mystes or mystic refer to the practitioners of doctrinally acceptable forms of religious ecstasy. During the early times of the religion, many pagan traditions were adapted into Christian symbolism and artwork, and the phoenix represented resurrection. The retelling of the myth compares the bird to that of Jesus Christ. In many relics of the early Catholic leaders, the phoenix is pictured on a palm tree, representing the triumph over death.
Yo.
What's going on, man?
What's up?
Not bad. How are you, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I've been here many times, man. I appreciate what you do. I educate people. I gotta tell it on my account because I'm trolling them people, man. And it's just too much, man. Like, whatever they're doing is too much. Like, sometimes I go to their lives and I say like the most like stupid shit, and they believe that, man. Like I say, like North Africans were like the Native Americans, and then they were the like,
And they agree with it.
actually align with me, like saying this kind of stuff. And man, it's just
They're
too much.
Afrocentrics, but they hate Africa.
Yeah, no, they don't like all of Africa. They're very specific about like what part of Africa they like. It's usually North Africa and
Egypt. Yep, and the Moors. North Africa. Yeah. You know what's funny? North Africans, they kind of look like natives in a way. You know, the same skin tone. I think a lot of people have the same skin tone as us. Polynesians, some Asians, Middle Easterners, Hindus. We got lots of people that got the same, you know, skin, you know, maybe even eye color, hair color too. You here, bro? Where you at? We can't hear you. You gotta come to the app if you wanna. You might have a call or something.
Incidentally, the phoenix is a genus of 14 species of palms, native to North Africa, the Mediterranean, and the Middle East. Clement of Rome, in the first epistle of the Clement to the Corinthians, makes the earliest known connection of the tale of the phoenix to the fact of the resurrection. Clement writes, quote, "Do we then think it great and remarkable for the Maker of all things to raise up again those that have piously served him in the assurance of a good faith, when even by a bird he shows us the mightiness of his promises? For he says in a certain place, Thou shalt raise me up, and I shall confess unto thee. And again, I laid me down and slept. I awaked, because thou art with me. And again, Job says, Thou shalt raise up this flesh of mine, which has suffered all these things." After Clement of Rome's epistle, the phoenix story was widely applied in the church as a symbol of apotheosis. Think about the story as you hear the baptismal hymn, quote, "Awake, awake, O sleeper, arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you." As for the date palm, it is commonly believed to have originated from within the Fertile Crescent, part of which became known as the land of Phoenicia. Even if it did not originate there, it was certainly prolific there, as evidenced by the Bible, which calls Phoenicia the land of the palms. Tammuz was the name of the ancient Near East deity who was best known for his sacred sex rites with the goddess Inanna, or Ishtar. Tammuz was known by many titles, including the great source of the date clusters and Baal Tamar, meaning Lord of the Palms. So we have our first connection between the resurrecting bird and the palm
stem
tree.
that goes down into the water.
Tammuz was later incorporated into the Hellenic pantheon as Adonis,
There's no water in it. I
beautiful
put ice
youth
cubes in it
who
though.
earned the love of Aphrodite.
Yo, where you at?
The concepts of death and resurrection.
Sorry about that, man. But what I think about Egypt and the Moors, man, like it just odd to me because I'm from like a small country called Mali. It's not very famous on the map. The most famous thing they got was like the Kingdom of Mali, Timbuktu, those cities, and like they always bring those cities like into the topics. They don't know like much about that story. Like those people were like nomads. They had camels. Those people that founded the city of Timbuktu. So they do not fit the narrative most of the time. They are like more closer to Arabs than West Africa, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just too much, man. Like this tethering, this like tipping. And yeah, I don't know if have you seen the video when this guy randomly comes up to these people and he asks them like, was Mozart a black guy? Was Beethoven? Was Shakespeare? Like he's naming like random people.
Mozart, yeah. They say Christopher Columbus too. George Washington, Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah. I was like, what's wrong with this man? Like, why do somebody like just wake up randomly And like, I swear to God.
Yo, they said
y'all
Harriet
think about
Tubman was American Indian.
Yeah, she was not. She was a slave, and yeah, she had no history.
Oh fuck.
I think it's just delusion, man, and a lot of Africans are doing it too. I don't know if you had any Africans here on the live.
Not
A lot
lately,
of
no.
Africans believe that kind of stuff. They believe their cousins are native over there, you know. So it's too much, man. I think it should be illegal. I think it should.
Don't upload your videos to YouTube.
To do what they're doing,
Use
yeah,
to
yo.
Restream, where we will live stream it to
Definitely should be. It's harmful. Misinformation. Yeah, it's harmful, dude. They don't really understand the severity of what they're doing. They don't.
And it's like it could get people through like some like psychological stuff. If somebody
They're preying on their
identity, like it's not a good thing, you know.
they're preying on their own people, so their own people are scamming them. They're getting like I don't care that they're getting scammed, but I care about the part where they're talking about my people and changing our history because not only are they like confusing their own people, yeah, you got gullible white people and gullible non-natives too that will start to believe what they're saying because it's weird. We're in some weird times because people would rather believe some homeless guy on TikTok before they believe a college professor. Straight up. People would rather trust what a homeless fucking crackhead meth head on TikTok says before they believe what a college professor says. We're in some weird ass times, yo.
I would try to touch on as many video request topics as I could in this video, including the Phoenicians, Aryans, Israelites and lost tribes, the Ashkenazi, Noah and his sons, and probably the most frequently requested culture, the Scythians. That seems like quite a lot, but since there's a lot of overlap, I'll give it a shot. So welcome to another episode. The Scythians are the common ancestors of the Indo-European people. The word Indo-European describes a language family spoken over the greater part of Europe and Asia as far as northern India. It implies that a tribe of people, the Proto-Indo-Europeans, diffused in the past from the Black Sea area or Anatolia, and identifying these people ethnically and historically will hopefully tie together many loose ends. Proto just means before, original, or first. So Proto-Indo-European means the original tribe of people that spread in antiquity into Europe to the west and into India to the east. And when we look at the branch of anthropology known as linguistics, which means the origin of languages, the oldest branch of Indo-European languages were the Anatolian languages, the geographic area around the Black Sea, including the Caucasus Mountains, which is modern-day Turkey, and Armenia, once part of the Hittite Empire. Pliny the Elder's natural history derives the name of the Caucasus from the Scythian kroi Caucasus, meaning ice shining white with snow. The Caucasus is where we get the term Caucasian from. In a biblical context, it's where Noah was said to have settled after the floodwaters receded. In medieval ethnography, the world was divided into three large-scale groupings, corresponding to three classical continents: the Caucasian Semite people of Asia, the Hamitic Caucasian people of North Africa, and the Caucasian Japhetic people of Europe. While these terms are no longer in use, mainly because of changing demographics, keep in mind that they applied to millennia ago and to the nobility of these societies, not every single individual that lived within a geographical region, which at one time included large slave populations. For now, let's focus on the expansion of the Scythian culture.
Yo.
The Sumerians lived on the steppes
Yo, what's
north
up,
of the
bro?
Black Sea until they were driven from their homeland by the
Bros
Scythians,
for a face.
who had themselves been driven from their
We don't claim
homeland
this
in
guy.
Central Asia by nomadic Massageti, who were also
Native.
part of the group known as Indo-Europeans, meaning their languages shared the same root words
We don't
and
claim
part of the
this
wider
guy.
Scythian culture.
Yeah.
But these ancient Indo-European tribes
Yo, what's up, Knockit? Long time no see. Bro, my cat's meowing the same way, it's tripping me out. I'm sorry, bro. Yo, and who indigenous belief? We don't claim this guy? Who's we? I didn't know you speak for other people. I don't want to be claimed. I don't want to be claimed. I'm the one that claims. I claim you. You don't claim me. Dude, this hasn't left my hand for like 2 days, yo. Oh yeah, today we're gonna go get a rack or get something to hang this up on the wall. Right there, so you guys can see it on the wall. I don't want to turn this place into a Ruby Tuesdays though.
were not united. They were constantly at war with each other. It doesn't mean that they were not of the same ethnicity, language group, or race.
Looks like
It just
Ruby
means they
Tuesdays
fought
in his house.
So there were also cultural
They
variations.
got
among
goofy
these
shit
various
all over.
sects.
Well, this ain't goofy.
For
but
example,
you guys know
according
what I mean.
to Herodotus, quote, the dress and mode of living of the Massageti resemble.
Did I carve that? No. Shane Long did. I'm pulling it up for you right now. Neolin. Here we go. Ganya.
Ganya.
Ganya. Ganya. Ganya. The Sea War Club. Okay, here we go. Gajiwa. Gajiwa. Hey. Gajiwa. Hey. Gajiwa. Gajiwa. Nyawagoa. Hey. Yeah, Gajiwa. So that's Gajiwa right here.
Gajiwa.
Gajiwa. Gajiwa.
Osadios hat.
Osadios hat.
Engadios hat.
Engadios hat.
Engadios hat.
Engadios hat. I'll go to war. Engadios hat. Engadios hat.
The Scythians. They fight both on horseback and on foot. Their arms are all either of gold or of brass. Each man has...
You know what tribes need to do? Tribes, we're not sovereign until we have our own money and our own military. Make your own money and start trading in it. Doing trade in it so it becomes worth more than the United States dollar. All the tribes in the United States is probably going to divide up into the states and tribes. Tribes need to unite, and honestly, we probably... So with the Black Americans wanting to be Native American, you don't have to be Native American to roll with us. You can still roll with us and still be African. You can't like be us. So with them wanting to be Native American so bad, they should just fight with us against the colonizers. We would probably win everybody against the elites. We don't want to roll with you. Then get the fuck out my life then. But seriously,
one wife, yet all the wives are held in common.
We not helping y'all? Yeah, well listen. Whatever then. stay stuck in the projects, bowing down to the white man forever.
For this is a custom of the Misogyty, and not the Scythians. Human life does not come to its natural close with this people. But when a man grows very old, all of his kinsfolk collect together and offer him up in sacrifice, offering at the same time some cattle also. After the sacrifice, they boil the flesh and feast on it, and those who thus end their days are reckoned the happiest. If a man dies of disease, they do not eat him, and bury him in the ground, bewailing his ill fortune that he did not come to be sacrificed. The only god they worship is the sun, and to him they offer the horse in sacrifice.
Horse meat?
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform made for anyone with an idea.
So this Indo-European sect was clearly into sun worship, cannibalism, and sacrifice. Procopius of Caesarea was the principal Byzantine historian of the 6th century, and in his writings called History of the Wars, the Buildings, and the Secret History, states that, quote, the Misogyty, whom they now call Huns.
So, a fucking, like, 70% of all white British men are related to King Tut, or whatever, right? Or Amun Ra, or whatever the fuck, right? Some pharaoh. So is, like, a lot of Middle Easterners, too, right? A lot of Egyptian men. Right? They said, what is Genghis Khan, like fucking 2 or 3% of the world fucking descends from him. He had so many fucking kids, he would just give a tribe one of his kids that was just born and said, you're going to raise him and he's going to be the chief of your village. Literally. That's what would happen, yo. So, is it really Egyptian DNA? I don't know, because why do all these fucking white men have Egyptian DNA, and then all the men in Egypt also have this DNA, right? 70% of British men have this pharaoh DNA, this one pharaoh DNA, right? How do we know that's the pharaoh DNA? That pharaoh probably was also a descendant of. It's not that they have the pharaoh DNA; they have somebody that came before the pharaoh's DNA. That's just the common ancestor that they all have. It's got, and what I'm thinking, it's got to be like Genghis Khan DNA, yo, because he populated like a quarter of fucking that part of the world, yo.
Roman historians also considered the Alans to be the former Misogyty.
Blonde hair, blue eyes, orange hair, or red hair, green eyes. White people are pretty colorful. White people look different. So I said I'm going to start calling white people colored. They got every single color, though. You got all different kinds of white people. You only got a couple, like 2 kinds of black people. Dark skin, light skin.
So I know this might be a little confusing, as these tribes are not spoken about in Hollywood films or even in modern classrooms, but it will make more sense later. The 4th century Roman historian Ammianus Marcellus wrote that the Alans were tall, blonde, and, quote, nearly all of the Alani are men of great stature and beauty. Their hair is somewhat yellow, their eyes are terribly fierce. According to the Jewish historian Josephus, the Alans were Scythians. When we look up the Alans, we find that the name Alan is an Iranian dialectical form of Aryan, which brings us to another term no longer used in any university after World War II. Yet the word Aryan is etched in stone thousands of years ago in places like the Behistun inscription in Iran, and is synonymous with the modern term Indo-European. The Alans, Misogyty, the Hittites of Anatolia, the Suevi, which I covered in a recent video, who became the modern Swedes and occupied southern Germany in what is now called Swabia, and the Scythians were all Aryan tribes that shared Indo-European or Aryan ancestry. In Histories, Herodotus describes the Budini of Scythia as red-haired and gray-eyed. In the 5th century BC, Greek physician Hippocrates argued that the Scythians were light-skinned. The 2nd century BC Han Chinese envoy Zhang Qian described the Saka, another name for the ethnicity known as the Scythians, as having yellow hair and blue eyes. Pliny the Elder characterizes the Saka, Scythians, or Tocharians as red-haired, blue-eyed, and unusually tall, which is supported by the 4,000-year-old, 6'6" tall Caucasian mummies found in China.
So I want to learn. So each we got like the condolence cane, right, and all those hieroglyphics on it. Those are like pretty much different bloodlines. Each clan is represented by a different sachem or different chief, right? But those chiefs represents the clan, and that clan represents a family. Those are families. So I would probably want to get I want to learn all those symbols, yo. I'm trying to find them and I can't find them, yo. I want my own condolence cane so I can hang it up. I'm not gonna turn my house into a Ruby Tuesdays, but yeah, I want to get a condolence cane that looks super cool. It's got Iroquois hieroglyphics on it. Hieroglyphics, yo. Come on, y'all.
The 4th century bishop Gregory of Nyssa wrote that the Scythians were fair-skinned and blonde-haired. So these tall, ginger and blonde and blue-eyed Aryan tribes from Central Asia and Anatolia, which went by many names, including the Huns, whose ancient symbology included the swastika symbol and serpents, entered Europe in several waves, represented as a great dragon in many European myths and legends.
Apparently you can go from 0 to a complete site in just a single prompt with Wix Harmony. I don't know if this is going to be possible, or vibe coding meets drag and drop freedom. We'll see about that. All right, let me try to make up a site to sell some, like, theoretical kombucha. Make me a site about kombucha.
All right, buddy. Oh yeah, this was.
My gentle, of course, very modern names. You know, I read every single comment that I.
Fumbles, the worst guy ever quadruples down. Hold on. There we go.
For decades, we've been taught a simple story.
We're going to be watching the Out of Africa Theory Debunked. I did watch, my uncle sent me this guy to watch the other day, and I checked it out. He debunks the Out of Africa Theory. And he had a lot of, I'm playing guitar. But he had a lot of good points that I make, actually. And you know what's funny? This guy went to school and all that. I didn't go to college. And I have know way more about the Out of America than he does. So it's like, damn, yo. If I keep going, if I haven't stopped streaming for 2 years, going on 3 years, and I'm already this far. If I keep at it for 10 years, we'll be like the Y-Files guy. We'll fucking be like Joe Rogan, right? I do got that interview with the Times Magazine guy or New York Times guy coming up, so we're slowly but surely moving up the ranks.
about our origins. Humanity emerged from a single African cradle and spread across the globe. But what if this long-held belief is just a piece of a much larger puzzle? New discoveries are challenging the very foundations of our understanding of human evolution, from ancient fossils to cutting-edge genetics. Evidence is mounting that suggests a more complex and intriguing narrative. So, what's really going on? What's this new evidence revealing? And could the out of Africa theory really be debunked? Stick around, because you won't want to miss this. For over a century, Charles Darwin's out of Africa theory has been the cornerstone of our understanding of human origins, rooted in the presence of African apes. At its heart, this theory suggests that our species first appeared in Africa around 300,000 years ago. Now, this idea wasn't new per se, but it did quickly become mainstream, with almost everyone agreeing to it, especially because it is supported by fossil evidence. A good example is the fact that the oldest remains of Homo sapiens were found in various parts of Africa, especially in places like Jebel Irhoud in Morocco. These fossils will...
So, the oldest human remains found in Morocco actually are on the beach, not even in the country. And Morocco used to be connected to New York City in New England. Just food for thought.
Quite important, as they gave us a look into the past and allowed us to understand what life as an early Homo sapien must have been like. From these fossils, we can tell that early humans...
Hot Dagoji on the stream. If you go on Facebook, you can see her. She's gone now. There's a delay, that's why I seen it.
...would have faced many challenges, from hunting food to surviving in diverse environments. But most importantly, we could tell that it's in this African landscape that they began to evolve and refine traits that distinguish us today. It was the cradle of life, the first home to complex thought, culture, and the beginning...
Damn. Yeah, they're trying to say fucking... Yeah, nah.
...beginning of technology. It, however, may also...
Look at these guys, yo. That's the meme. Why do my descendants deny me? That's that guy, yo. Right there, that's that guy. Why do my descendants deny me?
all along. See, it's not what happened in Africa that matters most, but what happened next that defines out of Africa theory. According to the theory, between 100,000 and 200,000 years ago, some of these early humans began to venture out of Africa. Contrary to what you would almost immediately believe, this journey wasn't a single organized migration, but likely a series of movements driven by the changing climate, search for resources, and perhaps the innate curiosity that defines our species. As they spread into new territories in the Middle East, Asia, and eventually Europe, our ancient ancestors soon found out they were not alone. They soon encountered other hominins, our evolutionary relatives who had left Africa much earlier. For instance, Homo erectus and the Neanderthals had already established themselves across Eurasia centuries before early humans even began stepping away from home. So what happened to these evolutionary cousins? Well, the traditional out of Africa view held that Homo sapiens either replaced these archaic populations or outcompeted them, gradually leading to their extinction. This was the general belief that we spread from Africa like a wildfire and quickly outcompeted the rest and conquered the world. But recent evidence has now begun to complicate this picture, suggesting that instead of outright replacement, there was some degree of interbreeding. Genetic studies, for instance, show traces of Neanderthal DNA in modern non-African populations, hinting that when these early modern humans encountered other hominins, they didn't always compete. They sometimes connected on a more intimate level, leaving a lasting genetic legacy. But here is the big question. Where have we gone wrong all along? Did humans actually come from Africa? And if not, where did they come from? Stay tuned to find out. At first glance, the out of Africa theory seems like a neatly wrapped gift, reliable and universally accepted, almost like the law of gravity. But when we dig a little deeper, we start to notice that some things don't line up quite as perfectly. Ironically, one of the biggest controversies surrounding the theory is also its biggest source of support. In a surprising twist, recent discoveries are revealing fossils that don't fully match the theory's predictions. This new evidence is prompting scientists to rethink and redefine what we thought we knew about our origins. So, what did they find? Discovered in 1966, but was not identified until 2022. The discovery of Ubaidiya vertebrae in Israel is perplexing. and one of the most fascinating discoveries that throws a wrench right into the out of Africa theory. Dating back about 1.5 million years, this vertebrate...
That's what I am. I'm the fucking wrench in the pretendians, yo. I'm the wrench that fucks up their whole game, yo. That's why they hate me. That's why they want to fucking kill me.
Is the oldest evidence of ancient humans in Israel, and somehow it actually predates the well-known Homo erectus fossils found in Manisi, Georgia, which, by the way, are around 1.8 million years old.
No, I know that's a country.
See, this is quite the big...
Pretendians. I've seen pretendians make that mistake, yo. That's so funny when they, yeah, dude, that's so funny.
Deal, because up until now, the Manisi fossils were considered the earliest evidence of hominins outside of Africa. But with the discovery of Ubaidiya, this timeline had been shifted in a very fascinating way. This discovery's significance is not just because of its age, but also because of the size of the individual it belonged to. Let me explain. Analyses of the vertebrae reveal that even as a child, this individual would have been as tall as an adult Homo erectus from Manisi, with the potential to grow much larger as an adult.
Look at the hair texture. So they were wrong about what ancient humans looked like. They keep making ancient humans super hairy. So you guys, I think this is what I mean. So Cro-Magnon is, listen to this. So Cro-Magnon is what they consider man or humans, right? Homo sapien, Cro-Magnon, right? And Cro-Magnon was a seafaring race, right? Now, there's a dictionary definition from the 1800s that says a human being is a sea monster. Hey, now, Cro-Magnon, the seafaring race, went all over the world and mixed with fucking animals and all different types of things. That's why you got fucking half animal, half fucking horse, half animal with, or sphinx with a man's head and all types of shit, yo. There's a story behind that. I don't know what tribe this guy was from, but he's from South Midwest, the Pueblo tribes. And he told me that the reason why that part of the world over there, they had so many people with hybrids of animal people was because over here there was a girl that was real nasty, yo. A native girl. She was like a witch. And her dad cast her out because she was so nasty, yo. And she went and slept with the animals, yo. That's how nasty this girl was. And that's why you got that stuff. Fucking brutal, right?
After hearing this, your first thought must be that scientists have discovered giants. But this size difference actually suggests something quite different. It points to the presence of two distinct types of early humans outside of Africa during this period. This finding indicates that different hominin groups were exploring new regions simultaneously, rather than as part of a single unified migration.
So if Asians and Native Americans have the most Mongoloid or Neanderthal DNA or Denisovan DNA, right? It's a hybrid of Denisovan and Neanderthal, right? If East Asians and Native Americans have the highest rates of that, right? Of this Mongoloid Neanderthal DNA, they have been depicting the Neanderthal wrong this whole time. They have you guys thinking a Neanderthal is fucking hairy. No. We're not fucking hairy fucking people. The fuck? We are not hairy people. They have you guys thinking the Neanderthal was fucking hairy. That he was a hairy motherfucker. And he had back hair, chest hair, fucking real hairy arms. I'm sorry, but as indigenous people and Asians, they don't have fucking hairy. We don't have that. They don't have hair. We don't have hair. Oh shit, I got banned, y'all. I got banned on TikTok already, yo. I wasn't even saying anything. What did I say? Yo, what the fuck could I have said to get me banned? What? Oh, Mongoloid. Uh-oh. I said, please give me my access back at the end after I typed up all that shit, and I said, thank you, but it came out rank you. Oh, they're gonna think I'm making fun of them now. Rank you. God damn. No, they only say R when they're trying to make W noises, so I'll probably be good. Competition is getting so ugly. No respect for the true indigenous. No, they don't respect us. They do not respect us because of who we are to them. They idolize us. They worship us. So yeah, they don't respect us. The fuck?
But the fossil wasn't the only thing fighting the out of Africa theory, because support for the idea of multiple migrations also came from comparing the tool technologies found at the two sites. In Manisi, the stone tools followed the expected older one tradition,
Technology.
which are simple flakes chipped off stones. But shockingly, the tools found in Ubaidiya are from the early Acheulean tradition, which are essentially more advanced tools, like hand axes made from volcanic rock. This contrast in tool styles makes no sense, because how does the older fossil have more complicated tools? And while we grapple with that, the tool difference points to cultural and technological differences between the two groups, essentially strengthening the case for separate migrations. Now, you might say that one fossil alone shouldn't be enough to crumble the whole theory, and you'd be right, but here's the thing, it's not just one fossil. When you hear about a single fossil challenging a long-established theory, it's easy to dismiss it as a small anomaly that doesn't have much impact on the bigger picture. And in many cases, that would be a fair point. One lone fossil might not be enough to overturn decades of scientific understanding. However, in this case, it's not just one fossil. The fossil in question is part of a much larger body of evidence, multiple fossils, genetic findings, and archaeological discoveries that together create a much more complex picture of human evolution than we once thought. And one of the other fossils that truly stands out is the Petrolona skull and the controversies that came with it. The Petrolona skull, discovered in a cave in Greece in 1959, sparked ongoing controversy due to debates over its age and its implications for human evolution. While the skull has been scientifically dated between 240,000 and 160,000 years old, aligning with...
Hey, Jamal, you didn't spit no facts, bro. At all.
The traditional out-of-Africa theory, Dr.
You got laughed at, actually, real hard.
Polianos, a prominent figure in the debate, has claimed that the skull is much older, about 700,000. If his dating is correct, it would significantly challenge the idea that modern humans first emerged in Africa and later migrated outwards. Polianos also argued that the Petrolona skull represents the oldest human Europoid, suggesting that this fossil indicates a separate evolutionary lineage for Europe, distinct from Africa. He pointed to certain European-like traits in the skull's morphology to support his claim. However, his interpretation has not been widely accepted by the broader scientific community, which largely rejects the notion of a completely separate evolutionary path for Europe. The mainstream view, based on a combination of morphological analyses and reliable dating techniques, categorizes the Petrolona skull as belonging to Homo heidelbergensis. This species, thought to have lived in both Africa and Europe from about 700,000 to 200,000 years ago, is considered a common ancestor to both Neanderthals and modern humans. Studies comparing the Petrolona skull to other fossils, like the Cima de los Huesos skull from Spain and the Kabwe skull from Africa, show clear similarities. These similarities suggest that hominins from both continents likely belonged to a single ancestral group before diverging into Neanderthals in Europe and Homo sapiens in Africa. Even if Polyanos' dating is incorrect, the Petrolona skull remains an important artifact in understanding the evolution of humans in Europe, and actually sets us up for a finding that pretty much throws the out of Africa theory out of the window. Now, while fossils are a big enough contributor to debunking the out of Africa theory, they were not the only ones working against it, because on a molecular level, even genetics seems to be going against our trusted theory. In 2023, a groundbreaking study published in Nature challenged the traditional single origin view of the out of Africa theory by proposing a new model of human evolution. This model proposes a network rather than a single evolutionary tree, and it's quite fascinating. See, the study used genetic data and computer models to analyze the genomes of 290 people from various parts of Africa, southern, eastern, and western, testing multiple evolutionary scenarios to determine which best explain the diversity observed in modern humans. Surprisingly, the findings did not support the traditional single origin model, which had proposed that all modern humans descended from one unified population in Africa. Instead, the data revealed a more complex reality. Homo sapiens likely descended from at least two distinct groups within Africa. According to this plot twist, these groups were closely related but had maintained some degree of genetic separation over a long period. And to make things a bit crazier, they occasionally interbred, creating a dynamic mix of genes that defied the concept of a singular, homogeneous population as the origin of all humans. Now, this model was a big deal because up until now, we believed that we all came from the same population, a theory held up by mitochondrial Eve, the most recent woman from whom all living humans descended. So, what exactly did the researchers have to say about their model? Well, they described this model as resembling intertwining stems, rather than a simple branching tree. In this view, early human populations periodically split and evolved separately, only to reconnect and share genetic material later. Essentially, there was a periodic early human reunion or meet and greet. Over hundreds of thousands of years, this process of intermittent separation and fusion soon contributed to the intricate genetic diversity seen in modern humans. This means we aren't the outcome of one population's evolution, but the genetic offspring of different populations mixing and pushing for survival. Giving this branching theory some credit, archaeological evidence supported this model of interconnectedness rather than isolation. Artifacts from early human populations dating back between 300,000 and 100,000 years ago are spread across many regions of Africa. Now, here's the thought process today. If humans originated from one single source, shouldn't the oldest evidence be concentrated in just one location, with newer sites gradually spreading outward? Ideally, yes. But instead, what we're seeing is a mosaic. A complex patchwork of overlapping human populations across Africa, each contributing to the bigger story of how Homo sapiens came to be. So if out of Africa isn't the correct theory of how we got here, what is? Now, while it is still under scrutiny, the multi-regional hypothesis offers an interesting twist on how we think modern humans evolved, and it's a bit different from the more popular out of Africa theory. Instead of saying all modern humans came from one single population that left Africa, the multi-regional hypothesis suggests something more complex. It argues that Homo erectus, an earlier human ancestor, left Africa more than 1 million years ago and spread across Europe and Asia over time. The different groups of Homo erectus in these areas evolved into modern humans in their own regions. But here's the key. While these groups were evolving separately, they were still mixing and exchanging genes. This gene flow kept the populations connected, meaning human evolution wasn't happening in isolated bubbles, but more as a global, continued process. The out of Africa theory suggests that Homo sapiens, us, originated in Africa and then spread out, completely replacing the populations already living in places like Asia and Europe. But supporters of the multi-regional hypothesis aren't convinced by this. They point out that we don't have solid evidence to show that there was a complete replacement. Instead, they argue Homo erectus populations in Asia.
I'm yawning, and it's not a satisfying yawn. Like, I feel like I can't get out the yawn, y'all. Really, it's not satisfying. I keep yawning, y'all. It's hard to get it out.
Were there for hundreds of thousands of years, and they likely played a role in the evolution of modern humans there. And one big reason they question the out of Africa model is that we don't see major changes in things like stone tools in Asia, even when Homo sapiens were supposedly arriving. If Homo sapiens had replaced the local populations, you would expect to see some noticeable shifts in culture or technology, but that didn't happen. Instead, things just seem to have continued on as before, suggesting that those earlier populations didn't just vanish, but contributed to the evolution of modern humans. There's also some evidence that supports the multi-regional hypothesis, even if it's not always directly related. For example, the vertebra at Ubaidiya, which we spoke of earlier, fits with the idea that human evolution was a lot messier and more interconnected than the out of Africa theory would have us believe. Instead of a single wave of migration, the multi-regional hypothesis paints a picture of multiple migrations and gene mixing.
Yeah, so the multi-regional theory is different hominids beginning at different points of the world. Homo sapien evolving in Africa, Denisovan, Southeast Asia, Neanderthal, Eurasia. You got ghost populations in North and South America. So that's the multi-regional theory.
Across different regions, leading to the modern humans we know today, even though the multi-regional hypothesis is still considered a minority view in science, with the out of Africa theory being the dominant one. It still raises some important points. It challenges us to think beyond the idea that human evolution was just a series of isolated events. Instead, it suggests that the process was more complex and that different populations, even though they were spread out across the globe, were still connected by gene flow. The idea isn't just about migration, it's about how those migrations, along with mixing between groups, helped shape the human species over time. So while out of Africa gets most of the attention, the multi-regional hypothesis opens up a more complicated and interconnected story of how we became who we are. But why do we even need the theories in the first place? And why do we need to look further than just recent history? When we think about human evolution, it's easy to focus just on the past 100,000 years, especially since that's the period most often linked to the out of Africa theory. But if we only look at this short span of time, we risk missing out on some of the most important events that shaped who we are today. Our evolutionary story didn't start 100,000 years ago. It stretches far, far beyond that, and the earlier stages are key to understanding our unique traits and abilities. Basically, a serious effect of ignoring hominid evolutionary processes beyond 100,000 years ago is the loss of input data to research. For example, by ignoring earlier developments, we miss out on understanding the significance of bipedalism, our ability to...
I hope I'm not the only one that has ever felt like this. So I keep yawning and it's not satisfying. It's not a satisfying yawn. It's not getting it all out, it feels like.
To walk on two legs, a major milestone that happened long before 100,000 years ago. Bipedalism is one of the defining features that separates us from other primates, and it played a huge role in our evolution. This shift to walking upright didn't just change the way we moved, it opened up a world of possibilities. For starters, walking on two legs freed up our hands for other tasks like using tools and carrying things. This change had a huge impact on the structure of our bodies, from the shape of our hands to how our pelvis and spine evolved to support upright walking. These physical changes were important, but they also set the stage for changes in our behavior. Standing upright gave us better visibility of our surroundings, which helped us watch out for danger or to track animals. It also made it easier for traveling long distances, which likely played a role in our social behavior and even in the development of strategies like cooperative hunting. When we ignore the earlier stages of evolution, it's like reading a book and only starting with the last chapter. Sure, the final chapter might have the big revelation, but you wouldn't fully understand it without knowing the backstory. The same goes for human evolution. To truly understand how we got where we are today, we need to look at the long and complex history that preceded us. One of the first steps in this story is bipedalism, which set the foundation for so many.
Yo, hey, Ahmed or Wendy, they probably call you that, not me. I mean, they try to say I'm fucking Neanderthal, but
other developments in our evolution. It's important to remember that evolution isn't a simple linear process that happens in neat little timeframes. Evolution is ongoing and interconnected, with each stage building on the last. For example, bipedalism didn't just show up and stay the same for millions of years. It evolved and adapted alongside other changes like the development of tools, brain growth, and environmental pressures. All of these factors worked together over millions of years to shape the human species we are today. So when we look at human evolution, it's essential to think in terms of deep time. This means recognizing that our evolutionary journey spans millions of years, with each chapter influencing the next. Only by considering the full picture, from the earliest stages of bipedalism all the way to the rise of Homo sapiens, can we fully appreciate how we came to be and our place in the grand story of life on Earth. We've all heard it thousands of times. Modern humans originated in Africa. But just how true is that? The out of Africa theory, while widely accepted, isn't without its flaws. Over the years, new discoveries have raised questions, challenging the idea that our entire species traces back to a single migration. However, if we didn't only come from Africa, then where did we come from? How did we get here? And what can our past teach us about the future of humanity? Stay tuned as we revisit and question the very origins of our species. Before we dive in, if you haven't seen our first video on the Out of Africa theory...
Did I check out those Micmac hieroglyphics yet? You know what? Yeah, we did, actually. Here. So Joseph Smith stole this from Micmac. She's not hungry. She got food. Oh shit. But yeah, yo, look at this. That looks like Cherokee a little bit too. You motherfucker. You dumb bitch. She's been scratching me all day, yo. There we go. Man. Lift some of these weights, get rid of these yawns, yo. That should help. Get some videos for you though.
I highly recommend watching it before you go on. It lays the groundwork for this discussion and provides essential context. Once you're caught up, come back and join us as we explore alternative origins of humanity. Although, for the most part, the Out of Africa theory stands as the most prevalent answer to the question of where we came from, the theory isn't bulletproof. Sure, it's the scientific equivalent of that friend who always has their life together, solid, well-supported, and widely accepted. But even the best theories have their awkward moments, and Out of Africa is no exception.
Oh! Look at that.
And widely...
The arrows are facing the wrong way, yo. So you can find indigenous bones down in Antarctica, but it looks like this is the way of the migration. It went from Antarctica, or possibly the Amazon, right? The garden, or North America. Either way, the arrows are facing the wrong way. The arrows are on the wrong end. It goes that way, in that direction.
Accepted. But even the best theories have their awkward moments, and Out of Africa...
See? Now look, you got migrations from India. There used to be a continent that connected India to Madagascar to Australia there. And when these migrations were happening, that's where that continent was. So they're not telling the whole story, people.
Is no exception. Perhaps the most shocking part is the fact that even the fossils say so. Normally, you'd think if all modern humans came from a single migration out of Africa around 60,000 years ago, we'd see a nice, clean trail of bones leading out of the continent and spreading across the world. Nope. Instead, we keep finding older human-like fossils in places where they supposedly shouldn't be. Take the skulls in China that date back 200,000 years, way before the supposed big migration. And then there's the jawbone found in Israel, clocking in at a cool 180,000 years old.
And then they just found something. They just found some stuff in Europe. They found some stuff in Egypt too, right? Now, me and my girl were looking up these laws. They got laws put in place. You can't dig past fucking 6 inches without a permit. You're not supposed to. You got to call 811 first.
Humans were only supposed to leave Africa 60,000 years ago. What are these fossils doing there? After all, they can't be time travelers, right? Then
look on my page, bro. I got videos.
There's the major problem with our DNA. See, genetic studies mostly back up the Out of Africa model, but there are some weird twists. Some populations, especially in places like Asia and Australia, have tiny traces of DNA that don't match up neatly with the expected migration timeline. Scientists used to think humans had a sexual affair with Neanderthals and Denisovans, but now there are whispers of an unknown mystery ancestor lurking in our genes. Who were they? Where did they come from? And why is no one talking about this supposed missing link? But that's not all. Even our artifacts tell a different story, because ancient humans apparently loved leaving behind confusing evidence. Tools and cultural artifacts in places like India and China date back way earlier than the supposed migration should allow. It's almost like finding a smartphone in a medieval castle. Either something's off with the timeline, or someone needs to explain how our ancestors were speedrunning civilization. Now, does this mean Out of Africa is completely wrong? Not necessarily. But it does mean the story isn't as neat and tidy as we once thought. Maybe there were multiple migrations. Maybe different human groups interbred more than we realized. Or maybe, just maybe, our ancient ancestors were more adventurous than we give them credit for. In order to find answers, different models of our evolution were proposed, and these are the most convincing. For much of the 20th century, the dominant model explaining human origins was the out of Africa replacement model, which argued that Homo sapiens evolved in Africa and then...
Look, they don't even show the Americas. Because they know, dude. They fucking know.
Spread out, replacing all archaic human populations without interbreeding. However, as genetic evidence mounted in the 21st century, this idea became increasingly difficult to defend. So scientists came up with the hybridization and assimilation model. This model suggests that while Homo sapiens originated in Africa, they didn't simply wipe out Neanderthals and Denisovans upon encountering them in Europe and Asia. Instead, they interbred, sharing both genes and cultural practices, and ultimately, over thousands of years, the genetic signatures of these ancient human relatives became part of the modern human genome. Think of it as seasoning in a meal. Without the seasoning, the meal still remains, but the seasoning is what makes it taste unique. But how do you defend the meal and seasoning in the first place? Well, like every other theory, you find evidence, and for this model, the most compelling evidence comes from advancements in ancient DNA analyses. In 2010, sequencing of the Neanderthal genome revealed that modern non-African populations carry about 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA. Similarly, genetic studies on Denisovan remains found in Siberia showed that some populations, particularly indigenous groups in Oceania, like Papuans, have up to 5% Denisovan DNA. These findings confirmed that interbreeding occurred between Homo sapiens and at least 2 other human species. Now here's the thing, the distribution of archaic DNA in modern populations aligns with the regions where Neanderthals and Denisovans lived, further supporting the idea that instead of being replaced outright, these groups were absorbed into the expanding Homo sapiens populations. Beyond genetics, there's evidence that cultural and technological exchanges also took place. Today, some Neanderthal sites show signs of advanced tool use, jewelry making, and even possible symbolic behaviors, traits previously thought to be exclusive to Homo sapiens.
Yo, so there's a guy that, hold on.
This suggests that interactions between species may not have been purely hostile, but could have included cooperation and the sharing of knowledge. Plus, there's also the fact that Neanderthals and Homo sapiens lived in overlapping territories for thousands of years, particularly in Europe and the Middle East. This prolonged contact makes it likely that some level of cultural assimilation occurred alongside genetic hybridization. So what's the big deal here? Well, the remnants of Neanderthal and Denisovan DNA in modern humans are not just historical curiosities. They have tangible effects on health, adaptation, and even behavior. Some Neanderthal genes have been linked to helping early Homo sapiens survive in new environments. Other genes have been associated with traits like skin pigmentation, hair type, and even susceptibility to certain diseases. In fact, the EPAS1 gene, which helps Tibetans survive at high altitudes, came from Denisovans, while immune system genes from Neanderthals helped modern humans fight infections. However, not all inherited traits were beneficial. Some Neanderthal genetic variants have been linked to conditions like depression, allergies, and a higher risk of certain autoimmune diseases. This suggests that while hybridization introduced genetic diversity, natural selection continued to shape which archaic genes persisted in modern populations. Ultimately, the hybridization and assimilation model reshapes our understanding of human evolution, emphasizing that Homo sapiens did not simply outcompete or exterminate archaic human species. Instead, our ancestors interbred with them, leading to a complex web of genetic and cultural exchanges. This process of hybridization and assimilation played a significant role in shaping the genetic diversity of modern humans, showing that our lineage is more intertwined with our archaic relatives than we previously thought. On a wider scope, what if we never came from Africa, but rather came into it? That would be weird, right? Well, not according to the next theory. In more ways than one, the Inter-Africa theory was the plot twist scientists never saw coming. To understand this, imagine Homo sapiens as that one friend who moves out of town only to show up 6 months later acting all mysterious, talking about their life-changing experiences. Except in this case, the life-changing experiences involved interbreeding with Neanderthals and Denisovans in Eurasia, picking up new genetic tricks and then waltzing back into Africa like nothing ever happened. Essentially, this perspective suggests that significant evolutionary developments occurred in regions such as East and Southeast Asia, with subsequent migrations back into Africa contributing to the genetic and cultural makeup of contemporary African populations. Here's where it gets even crazier. Scientists have found traces of non-African DNA in modern African populations. That shouldn't happen if all human ancestry started and stayed in Africa. It's like finding a pizza recipe in an ancient Chinese cookbook. It just shouldn't be there, but somehow it is. This theory quite literally flips everything we thought we knew about human migration. It rather assumes that Africa wasn't the launchpad for humanity. It was also a melting pot where returning humans brought back new genes, skills, and maybe technology from the rest of the world. Lending a hand to this theory, some African populations today carry bits of Neanderthal and Denisovan DNA. That's right, our ancestors apparently went on a world tour, hooked up with some ancient relatives, and then brought those genes back home. Even the tools and artifacts found in Africa look suspiciously similar to ones from the Middle East and Asia, suggesting that these returning humans weren't just coming back empty-handed. They were bringing new technologies, ideas, and maybe even new ways of thinking. So why did we leave and then return? Well, according to the theory, early humans left Africa due to climate shifts, resource scarcity, population pressures, and innate curiosity. They returned when conditions improved, resources became abundant, and technological advancements made survival easier. Perhaps the craziest part is there were multiple ways they could have returned. Think of it as different flight routes on the prehistoric airline map. Some likely traveled through the Levant, passing through what is now Israel and Sinai. Others may have taken the Arabian Peninsula route, moving through present-day Saudi Arabia into northeast Africa. Some could have even made their way back through the Mediterranean, hopping from Europe into North Africa. Basically, our ancestors were racking up serious frequent traveller miles. Really though, all this theory is trying to prove is that human history isn't a straight line. It's a messy, crisscrossing web of migrations, cultural exchanges, and genetic remixing. The Into Africa theory shows that Africa wasn't just a place we left. It was a place we returned to, reshaped, and evolved in again. Of course, no wild theory comes without its fair share of drama, and the Into Africa theory is no exception. If this idea were a movie, it would have scientists in heated debates, archaeologists raising eyebrows, and geneticists double-checking their data. Although that's mostly because the evidence is still patchy. While some studies have found traces of non-African DNA in modern African populations, others argue that this could be the result of later historical migrations rather than some grand prehistoric return. Then there's the dating problem. And no, not the swiping left kind. See, pinning down exactly when these return migrations happened is tricky. Genetic data suggests that non-African DNA could have entered African populations tens of thousands of years ago, but archaeology hasn't always backed it up with solid physical evidence. To make everything just confusing, some scientists just aren't buying it. The Out of Africa model has been the reigning champion for decades, and shaking that up requires serious proof. Many argue that the presence of non-African DNA in Africa doesn't necessarily mean people migrated back. It could be the result of more recent interactions through trade and movement in the past few thousand years. In other words, maybe we didn't return to Africa as much as we just kept mingling with neighbouring populations along the way. Additionally, let's not forget the missing fossils. If large groups of early humans really did return to Africa, where are their bones, their tools, their settlements? Sure, we've found some artifacts that hint at outside influences, but a few stone tools and genetic markers aren't enough to rewrite human history just yet. Until more fossils turn up with clear signs of "I just got back from a long trip," the skeptics will keep asking for more proof. So here's a question. What if, instead of humanity starting in Africa, it actually came into Africa from somewhere else? Like, let's say, Asia. Weird, right? Well, not entirely. Stay tuned to find out. The Out of Asia theory proposed that the first true humans, our Homo ancestors, originated in Asia, particularly in regions like China, Indonesia, or even India, and only later migrated to other parts of the world, including Africa. This idea was incredibly popular in the 19th and early 20th centuries, back when researchers were piecing together human evolution without the luxury of modern genetics. Why did they think this? Well, because some of the earliest hominin fossils, like the famous Peking man or Homo erectus pekinensis, found in China, were way older than any modern human remains in Africa that had been discovered at the time. To many, it made perfect sense. Ancient apes found in Asia, some of the earliest hominin fossils also in Asia. So, logically, our direct ancestors must have come from there, right? But why did people believe it? Well, one of the biggest supporters of this theory was Ernst Haeckel, a German biologist who was convinced that humans evolved somewhere in Southeast Asia. His reasoning was that the discovery of gibbons and orangutans, both of which looked kind of human-like, suggested that our earliest ancestors had to come from the same region. He even speculated that the fabled missing link between apes and humans would be found in Asia, not Africa. Then in the early 20th century, researchers in China and Indonesia started digging up fossils that made people go, wait a minute, maybe Haeckel was onto something. They found Java man, a Homo erectus, and Peking man, both of which were clear evidence that some pretty advanced early humans had been walking around Asia long before modern humans appeared in Africa. If that wasn't enough, some Chinese researchers, like the famous paleontologist Wu Jinxi, pushed the idea that Homo erectus in Asia never died out, but instead evolved directly into modern East Asians, meaning that modern humans might not even have African roots at all. Instead, they argued for a regional continuity model, where early human populations in Asia evolved separately from those in Africa. So where did it go wrong? Well, as much as the out of Asia theory was popular in its heyday, it started falling apart as new discoveries emerged, and the biggest blow was genetics. With the rise of DNA analysis, researchers could now track the movement of human populations over time, and guess what? Every genetic study pointed to Africa. Our mitochondrial DNA showed a clear pattern. Modern humans had a single origin in Africa roughly 200,000 years ago and only later spread to Asia, Europe and beyond. Then there was the fossil evidence problem. See, while Homo erectus thrived in Asia, scientists weren't finding modern human fossils in Asia that were as old as the ones in Africa. In fact, some of the oldest Homo sapiens fossils, like those from Jebel Irhoud in Morocco, which is about 300,000 years old, were showing up in Africa, not Asia. Plus, if modern humans had evolved in Asia, you'd expect to see a gradual transition from Homo erectus to Homo sapiens there. But that's not what researchers found. Instead, it looked like modern humans suddenly appeared in Asia, as if they had migrated there from somewhere else entirely. Africa. While the idea that modern humans originated in Asia is no longer widely accepted, there are still a few interesting wrinkles. For one, Homo erectus definitely dominated Asia for a long time, and some researchers still think they might have contributed small amounts of DNA to certain modern populations, especially in East Asia. There's also the issue of China's unique fossils that continue to raise questions. See, some ancient skulls in China have a mix of modern and archaic traits, making some researchers wonder whether there was some limited interbreeding between Homo erectus and modern humans. Finally, the Denisovans, our mystery cousins, came from Asia. This group of ancient humans, discovered in a cave in Siberia, contributed DNA to modern Malaysians and some East Asians, proving that Asia played a key role.
You notice how they don't mention Native Americans at all in this? It's because they don't have our DNA. Native Americans are not lining up to take DNA tests. You know why? Because DNA tests are for people that don't know who they are. Native Americans do not have that problem.
In human evolution. But out of Asia wasn't the only model researchers came up with.
Out of Asia, right? I focus on the out of America.
Because they also looked to Europe, and the idea was a bit more compelling. Much like the out of Asia model, the out of Europe theory suggests that the first hominins, or even early humans, didn't evolve in Africa at all, but rather in Europe, particularly in regions like the Balkans, Spain, and even Greece. This challenges the long...
And I guess wonder who came up with this theory? White people. The people that pushed the out of Africa theory were the white people at first. And then they realized all the black people were saying, yeah, we made you. You come from us. And they're like, yeah, they started rethinking what they were saying. So all the white scientists and specialists that in the 90s that used to force the out of Africa theory down everybody's throat are now coming out and saying that that's not true. That the out of Europe theory is more an out of Asia. They say out of Asia, actually. I focus on the out of America. They're both wrong. White people and black people are not the original people.
long-held belief that Homo sapiens had an African origin before migrating into Europe and Asia. Instead, it flips the script, suggesting that the earliest ancestors of modern humans developed in Asia and later moved into Africa. The idea isn't entirely new. It actually dates back to the 19th and early 20th centuries, when some European scientists were convinced that Europe was the true birthplace of humanity. But why? Well, because some of the oldest human-like fossils they had at the time, like Neanderthals, were found in Europe. But as more African fossils emerged in the 20th century, the idea of an African origin gained dominance, and the out of Europe...
And there is laws and acts today that prevent people from making major discoveries here in the Americas. So NAGPRA, Native American Graves Reparations Act, where they had all the DNA and all the bones and giants and all. Smithsonian is in on it. The fucking what's it called? The Smithsonian, the Vatican, right? They're all in on it, right? Hiding our history from us. They know the oldest, America has the oldest everything. Water, trees, fossils. If they were allowed to dig in those mounds, they would find the missing link, the biblical giants, Adam, Noah, Eve. They'd find missing link, all that. The oldest remains too.
Europe idea was largely abandoned.
And then people can't go past like 30 feet because they'll make discoveries of the old world.
Not so completely. In recent years, a few discoveries have made scientists scratch their heads and ask, wait a second, could Europe actually have played a bigger role in human evolution than we thought? One of the biggest shocks to the out of Africa...
So the arrows are on the wrong end. And then you see how in between, right here, in between, fucking, I can't talk right now, Australia and South America, fucking brain fart. Australia, see this in the Pacific Ocean? Is because there is a sunken continent called Mu. Right? Over here, there was a sunken continent also. There's a sunken continent in the Atlantic Ocean. There was a sunken continent over here, and there's a sunken continent over here. There's land underneath all this, people. But Lost Continent, whoa, merged into California. You can find old maps, show California disconnected from it.
The model came in 2017. When researchers found Grecopithecus freibergi, a 7.2 million year old primate fossil in Greece and Bulgaria. What made it weird was that this ancient ape had dental features closer to early hominins than African apes. If that's true, it could mean that the very first steps towards humanity didn't happen in Africa at all, but in Europe. That's not all. Some fossil sites in Spain and France contain early hominid-like remains that predate even the earliest African hominins, raising even more questions. Could it be that the earliest ancestors of humans evolved in Europe and later migrated into Africa, where they eventually gave rise to Homo sapiens? Then there's the Neanderthal connection. While we now know that Neanderthals and modern humans interbred, some researchers believe that Europe may have been home to a separate evolutionary lineage of hominids that contributed more to modern humans than we previously thought. Some even argue that modern European populations carry more genetic influence from archaic European hominids than from early African Homo sapiens. By far the biggest appeal of the out of Europe theory is that it challenges a major assumption, that all of our ancestors had to come from a single place, Africa. Instead, some researchers believe that human evolution was more complex, with multiple populations evolving in parallel, sometimes in Africa, sometimes in Europe, and even in Asia. Another key argument is that early hominins were already highly mobile, meaning that migration between Europe and Africa wasn't just possible, it was likely happening all the time. If early hominins could move back and forth, then maybe our ancestors didn't originate in one single region, but in a much larger interconnected area. So, what are the problems with this theory? As intriguing as it sounds, the out of Europe theory runs into some major problems. First, genetics completely wrecks the idea. Like with the out of Asia theory, studies of human DNA overwhelmingly show that modern humans can trace their ancestry back to a single African population from around 200,000 to 300,000 years ago. If humans had originated in Europe, we'd expect to see older genetic lineages outside of Africa, but we don't. Second, the fossil record still strongly favors Africa. While Reclassifications and a few other European fossils raise interesting questions, the majority of hominin fossils, especially early Homo sapiens, are found in Africa. Finally and uniquely, climate and geography don't really support it. See, the conditions in Africa were far more stable for early human evolution, while Europe went through extreme ice ages that would have made it much harder for early hominins to thrive long term. However, is the idea completely dead? Not entirely. While modern humans almost certainly evolved in Africa, some researchers argue that Europe may have played a much bigger role in our evolutionary history than we previously thought. After all, Europe was home to Neanderthals and other ancient human relatives for hundreds of thousands of years, and we now know that modern humans interbred with these groups. So while we probably didn't start in Europe, we definitely picked up some evolutionary baggage along the way. Speaking of connectivity, the next model focuses on just that. If you thought migration stories couldn't get any more complicated, let me introduce you to the hominin network model, a theory so wild, it basically suggests early humans were the original social networkers. But instead of Wi-Fi, they connected through migration, interbreeding, and cultural exchange. See, this model flips the old idea of human evolution onto its head. Instead of a simple linear progression where one species replaces another, the hominin network model sees human evolution as a web of interactions between different hominid groups. To understand this, you have to picture an ancient world where early humans weren't isolated, but constantly meeting, mingling, and sometimes getting a little too close for comfort. Think of it like Game of Thrones, but with more stone tools and fewer dragons. So what makes this model special? For starters, it explains why modern humans have DNA from Neanderthals, Denisovans, and possibly even other extinct hominins we haven't fully identified yet. If Homo sapiens had simply replaced all other human species, our genetic history would be a lot cleaner. Instead, our DNA is like an ancient group project where multiple species left their contributions. The strength of the hominin network model comes from genetics, archaeology, and climate studies, all pointing in the same direction. Fossil evidence shows that different hominin species overlapped in space and time for thousands of years, meaning they had plenty of opportunities to exchange genes, tools, and survival strategies. In fact, advances in DNA research have proven that interbreeding wasn't just a rare accident, it happened multiple times across different continents. And this, of course, affected our culture. Some researchers believe this network wasn't just about genes, but also ideas. This spread of tool-making techniques and even symbolic behavior like cave art suggests that early human groups were learning from each other. But of course, no theory is without its challenges, and like many, one of the biggest for this model is the fossil gaps. While genetics give us a clear picture of ancient interbreeding, we're still missing a lot of physical evidence. We know Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, and Denisovans mixed, but were there other hominin species in this network? Some suspect there were, but without more fossils, it's hard to say for sure. Then there's the issue of timing. The model suggests constant interactions between different groups, but was it a slow trickle of genetic mixing, or did it happen in bursts? Some scientists argue that while interbreeding did happen, it might have been too sporadic to be considered a true network. Therefore, the big question here is, if these interactions were limited to rare encounters rather than long-term connections, does that weaken the model? So while this theory is gaining traction, it still needs more evidence to fully dethrone older models. But one thing's for sure, early humans weren't just lone wanderers. Now, something important to note is that although the hybridization and assimilation model and the hominin network model both acknowledge interbreeding among hominin species, they both differ in scope and emphasis. The hybridization and assimilation model suggests that as anatomically modern humans migrated out of Africa, they interbred with archaic populations like Neanderthals in Eurasia, incorporating genetic material from these groups into the modern human gene pool. In contrast, the hominin network model, also known as the braided stream model by the way, portrays human evolution as a complex web of interconnected hominin populations that frequently diverged and converged over time. This model emphasizes continuous gene flow and cultural exchanges among various hominin groups across different regions, reflecting a more intricate evolutionary process. While both models recognize interbreeding, the hybridization and assimilation model focuses on specific interactions between modern humans and archaic populations during their expansions out of Africa. In contrast, the hominin network model provides a broader perspective, considering the entire hominin lineage's evolutionary dynamics over extended periods. So what does all of this mean? Well, if anything, it proves that human evolution isn't some straightforward one-way journey. It's messy. It's complicated. It's full of unexpected twists, lost chapters, and theories that force us to rethink everything we thought we knew. Out of Africa, into Africa, hybridization, a mix of everything. The truth is...
Homemade pizza, by the way, guys. Homemade.
The more we dig, the more we realize our past is far from simple. Maybe our ancestors weren't just wanderers. They were pioneers, experimenters, and survivors, constantly moving, adapting, and reshaping what it means to be human. And if history has taught us anything, it's that the story of where we came from isn't finished yet. Because with every fossil...
Oh, look, this is the first video pops up is mine.
So I'm an indigenous American, and I took a DNA test to find out if I had Siberian, because my whole life I've been told that we're Siberian, and you know what? I didn't have any Siberian or East Asian, and North American indigenous was my highest percentage. We are taught as Ungwehuen people that we are the original people. That's what Ungwehuen translates to, the real people or the original people. We are taught...
Let's see. Yeah, you can't find anything on that. That's why my content is completely original. They try to bury this, yo. And that's why I have so many videos called Life Originated in America, and only this one video popped up. The forgotten evidence of humans in America 200,000+ years ago.
For most of your life, if you paid any attention to human origins at all, you probably heard a story that seemed pretty straightforward. Simple, even. Clean. Modern humans evolved in Africa somewhere between 200,000 and 300,000 years ago. They lived there for tens of thousands of years, developing the traits that made them unique: advanced intelligence, sophisticated language, the ability to create art and culture. Then, around 60,000 to 70,000 years ago, a small group of them left Africa, crossed into the Middle East, and from there spread across the entire planet. Within a few tens of thousands of years, these African emigrants had reached every continent except Antarctica. They replaced all the other human species they encountered, Neanderthals in Europe, other archaic humans in Asia, until finally, around 40,000 years ago, modern humans were the only human species left standing. This was the out of Africa theory, sometimes called the recent African origin model or the replacement hypothesis, and for decades it was the closest thing to settled science you could find in human evolutionary studies. Every textbook taught it. Every documentary presented it as fact. If you questioned it, you were either ignorant of the evidence or pushing some kind of agenda. The theory wasn't just accepted, it was celebrated. It unified the fossil record story of a single African Garden of Eden, where modern humans suddenly appeared fully formed, that was looking less and less tenable. The real story was messier, more distributed, more dynamic, but also, in its own way, more beautiful. Because what these fossils were revealing wasn't just a different timeline. They were revealing a different kind of origin story entirely. Not a story of one special population in one special place, but a story of networks, connections, gene flow across vast distances and deep time. The question was no longer, where did modern humans originate? The question was becoming, how did a network of populations spread across an entire continent and beyond manage to evolve together into a single species? And that question opened up possibilities that would have seemed radical just a few years earlier. If humans were evolving across such a vast network, with gene flow extending even beyond Africa, then maybe the whole concept of a single origin point was wrong. Maybe we needed to think bigger, more complicated, more interconnected. The fossils that didn't fit the narrative weren't anomalies. They were clues. Evidence that the story we'd been telling ourselves was too simple, too neat, too focused on single origins when reality was operating on a completely different scale. What came next would challenge everything even further. But what if the entire story was wrong from the beginning? What if modern humans didn't evolve exclusively in Africa and then spread out to replace everyone else? What if instead we evolved everywhere simultaneously across multiple continents, connected by just enough gene flow to keep us one species? This is the multi-regional hypothesis. And for decades, it was the theory that nearly tore paleoanthropology apart. Picture the academic battlefield of the 1980s and 90s. On one side, the out of Africa proponents with their genetic data and their African Eve. On the other, a smaller but fiercely determined group of scientists who looked at the same evidence and saw something completely different. Not a replacement event, but a million-year-long process of evolution happening simultaneously across 3 continents. The champion of this alternative view was a paleoanthropologist named Milford Wolkoff from the University of Michigan. Brilliant, combative, and absolutely convinced that the out of Africa theory was missing something crucial. Wolkoff had spent years studying fossil skulls from every corner of the old world. Europe, Asia, Africa, Indonesia. And the more he looked, the more patterns he saw. Patterns that didn't fit the neat narrative of African replacement. Here's what caught his attention. When you examine fossil skulls from China dating back hundreds of thousands of years, you see certain distinctive features, shovel-shaped incisors, particular cheekbone structures, specific cranial proportions. These same features show up in modern Chinese populations today. Similarly, fossil skulls from Indonesia show characteristics that persist in modern Aboriginal Australian populations. European fossils display traits still found in modern Europeans. This is what Wolkoff called regional continuity. The idea that modern populations in different parts of the world show physical connections to ancient populations from those same regions. Not just random connections, but specific anatomical features that seem to have been maintained across hundreds of thousands of years. If the out of Africa theory was right, if modern humans evolved exclusively in Africa and then swept out to completely replace all other human populations around 60,000 years ago, you wouldn't expect to see this kind of regional continuity. The replacement should have been total. African features should dominate everywhere. But that's not what the fossil record showed, at least not to Wolpoff and his colleagues. So they proposed an alternative. What if Homo erectus, that ancient human species that left Africa nearly 2 million years ago, didn't just settle different parts of the world and then get replaced? What if those populations kept evolving, kept changing, but stayed connected enough through gene flow that they all evolved together into modern humans? Think of it like a network of rivers, individual streams flowing in different directions through different landscapes, but all connected by tributaries and backflows. Genes moving between populations, not in massive migration waves, but in slow, steady trickles. Enough mixing to prevent the populations from becoming separate species, but enough isolation for regional differences to develop and persist. Under this model, modern human characteristics, the big brains, the graceful skeletons, the capacity for symbolic thought, didn't evolve once in Africa and then spread through replacement. They evolved everywhere at roughly the same time, spreading through populations as advantageous genes move from group to group through occasional interbreeding. The archaeological records seem to support this too. Tool technologies don't show sudden replacements in most regions. Instead, you see gradual evolution of increasingly sophisticated tools developing independently in multiple locations. Similar innovations appearing in Africa, Asia, and Europe at roughly the same times, suggesting parallel cultural evolution rather than one population inventing everything and then spreading it to others. And there was another piece of evidence that troubled the out of Africa camp: the genetic bottleneck. Remember those 1,280 individuals we talked about? If all modern humans descended from a small African population that expanded recently, our genetic diversity should be extremely limited, which it is. But multi-regionalists argued the bottleneck might have affected all human populations worldwide, not just Africans. Maybe the climate crisis that nearly wiped out humans in Africa also devastated populations in Asia and Europe, creating a synchronized bottleneck across multiple continents. This would explain why we have so little genetic diversity while still maintaining regional continuity in physical features. All human populations got hammered to near extinction simultaneously, but when they recovered, they still carried some local adaptations that had developed over hundreds of thousands of years of regional evolution. For a while in the 1980s, the debate was genuinely contentious. Major journals published papers arguing both sides. Academic conferences featured heated exchanges between out-of-Africa proponents and multi-regionalists. Careers were built and sometimes damaged over which theory you supported. But then the evidence started piling up against multi-regionalism. First came more sophisticated genetic analysis. When researchers looked deeper into mitochondrial DNA, then Y chromosome DNA, then eventually whole genome sequences, the pattern was undeniable. All modern human genetic lineages traced back to Africa, and they traced back relatively recently. Not millions of years as multi-regionalism required, but tens of thousands. The genetic diversity data was devastating to pure multi-regionalism. African populations showed far more genetic variation than populations anywhere else. This is exactly what you'd expect if humans had been in Africa longer than anywhere else, giving more time for mutations to accumulate. If humans had been evolving simultaneously across multiple continents for 1 million years, genetic diversity should be roughly equal everywhere, but it wasn't. Then came the fossil evidence that really hurt the multi-regional case. Researchers found the earliest anatomically modern human fossils in Africa, dating back nearly 300,000 years. Sites like Jebel Irhoud in Morocco showed modern human features appearing in Africa long before they showed up anywhere else. Meanwhile, the oldest modern human fossils in Asia and Europe dated to less than 100,000 years ago. The timeline supported out of Africa, not multi-regional evolution. Most damaging was what researchers found when they started comparing Neanderthal and modern human DNA. If multi-regionalism was right, Neanderthals should just be European variants of the same species that was evolving into modern humans everywhere. Their genes should blend seamlessly with ours, but that's not what happened. Neanderthal DNA shows they were a distinct lineage that split from modern humans hundreds of thousands of years ago. Not just regional variants, but different enough that they'd been evolving separately for ages. By the early 2000s, multi-regionalism had been largely dismissed by mainstream paleoanthropology. The genetic evidence was too strong, the fossil evidence too clear. Modern humans evolved in Africa and spread from there, replacing other human species they encountered. Case closed, except, as it turns out, not quite closed. Because here's where the story gets interesting again. As genetic technology improved and researchers could extract and analyze DNA from ancient fossils, they started finding something unexpected. Yes, modern humans evolved in Africa. Yes, we spread out and largely replaced other human populations. But the replacement wasn't complete. We interbred. When modern humans met Neanderthals in Europe, they didn't just fight them or outcompete them. They had children with them. Same with Denisovans in Asia. Possibly with other archaic human populations we haven't even identified yet. Today, if you're of European or Asian descent, roughly 2% of your DNA comes from Neanderthals. If you're from Oceania, you might carry 4–6% Denisovan DNA. Some African populations show genetic evidence of interbreeding with unknown archaic human species that never left the continent. This is where elements of multi-regionalism are sneaking back into the conversation, not the pure version that Wolpoff defended, where humans evolve simultaneously everywhere, but a hybrid model that acknowledges the out-of-Africa framework while incorporating multi-regional gene flow. Modern humans did evolve primarily in Africa. We did spread out and become the dominant human species. But when we encountered other human populations, we absorbed some of their genes. Those regional populations had been adapting to local environments for hundreds of thousands of years. They developed cold weather adaptations in Europe, high-altitude adaptations in Asia, unknown adaptations in Africa. When we interbred with them, we picked up some of those locally evolved traits. This might explain Wolpoff's regional continuity observations, not because populations evolved in place, but because incoming modern humans absorbed genetic material from the populations they were replacing. A few percent of archaic DNA could carry distinctive regional physical features, making modern populations look like they had some continuity with ancient local populations. It's not classical multi-regionalism, but it's not pure replacement either. It's something more complex, more nuanced. A story where the main narrative arc is out of Africa, but with important subplots involving ancient interbreeding and genetic exchange. Some researchers now call this the assimilation model. Modern humans evolved in Africa, but they assimilated genetic material from archaic populations they encountered during their expansion. We replaced other human species demographically, our numbers overwhelming theirs, but we didn't replace them genetically, not completely. The debate that once seemed settled is opening up again, not because multi-regionalism was right, but because the truth turned out to be more complicated than either side imagined. Evolution doesn't follow simple narratives. It's messy, opportunistic, full of unexpected connections and surprising outcomes. And as we're about to see, the real story of human evolution is messier than anyone expected, because it wasn't just happening between different species, it was happening within Africa itself, among multiple populations that we're only now beginning to understand. For most of human history, if you wanted to understand where we came from, you had exactly two tools: fossils and stone tools. That was it. You dig up ancient bones, measure skulls, compare jaw lines, and try to reconstruct our family tree from fragments of skeletons that were often incomplete, poorly preserved, or frustratingly ambiguous. Then in the 1980s and 90s, everything changed. Scientists figured out how to extract DNA from ancient specimens. Not living tissue, but bones that had been buried for thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of years. DNA that had been sitting in caves and frozen ground, waiting to tell stories that fossils never could. At first, nobody thought it would work. DNA degrades. It breaks down over time, shredded by bacteria, destroyed by water and heat, torn apart by chemical processes. After a few thousand years, you'd expect nothing to be left except molecular fragments too small to be useful. But then scientists discovered something remarkable. In certain conditions, cold, dry, stable environments, DNA could survive far longer than anyone had imagined. Not intact, not perfect, but recoverable. Tiny fragments that could be pieced together like a molecular jigsaw puzzle, revealing secrets that had been locked inside ancient bones for millennia. The first breakthrough came from mitochondrial DNA. These are tiny circular pieces of genetic material that sit outside the cell nucleus. They're inherited only from mothers, passed down through an unbroken maternal line stretching back to the origin of our species. Because there are thousands of copies in every cell, mitochondrial DNA is much more likely to survive than regular nuclear DNA. Scientists extracted mitochondrial DNA from dozens of ancient human specimens. They compared sequences, built family trees, calculated mutation rates, and they made a discovery that seemed to support the out of Africa theory perfectly. All modern human mitochondrial DNA traced back to Africa, specifically to a woman who lived somewhere between 150,000 and 200,000 years ago. The media called her Mitochondrial Eve. This looked like confirmation. All humans descended from a small African population. We'd all originated in one place, then spread out to conquer the world. Case closed, right? Not even remotely. Because in 2010, a team of scientists working in a cave in Siberia extracted DNA from a tiny finger bone. Just a fragment. A piece of pinky finger from what appeared to be a young girl who died in that cave about 50,000 years ago. They sequenced the DNA, expecting to find either a modern human or a Neanderthal. What they found was something nobody had predicted. This girl wasn't human. She wasn't Neanderthal either. She was something else entirely, a completely unknown species of human that had never been identified from fossils. A ghost species that we only discovered by reading the genetic messages hidden in a finger bone the size of a pebble. They called them Denisovans, named after the cave where that first bone was found. And then things got really weird. When scientists compared Denisovan DNA to modern human populations, they found something shocking. People living in Asia and Oceania carried Denisovan genes, not metaphorically, literally. Between 3 and 6% of the DNA in modern Melanesians, Aboriginal Australians and some Southeast Asian populations came directly from Denisovans. These ancient humans had interbred with modern humans.
Guys, we're going to take a break.